What is up, Fence fam? So good to see you, virtually as it were, or is, or whatever. It's good to see you guys. Good to be back with you guys. This is what is it, second or third Saturday in a row we've been able to do this on Saturdays? I'm jacked up. I'm ready to talk to you guys. So glad you guys could join us, either watching us here live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or listening on the podcast. This podcast thing is kind of taken off. And so if you're listening on the podcast, thank you. I appreciate you. Now, what they tell me is on the podcast, what makes a big difference is the rating. So if you feel compelled to leave a 5-star review, that would be fantastic. And actually, what we're going to start doing is reading 5-star reviews live on the air. Let's just do that. I was going to start it next week, but you know what? No time like the present. Let's do that. How do we do that? That's a good question. Apple. Okay. This was planned out very well by myself. I thought about anyway. Okay, here we go. Nope, that's just it. So, okay. How do you see reviews on here, Braden?
I have no idea. You said that
episode website. Well, I know. Well, I read some of them, so I know that it's here. We just have to find it together, Fence fam. All right. Let's see. Well, we'll figure this out. Okay. Well, maybe we're not. We'll do that next week. But there were several good 5-star reviews, and I wanted to read them. How do you? Okay. Oh, I know how we do it. We go to search. That's how we do it. And then we got to pull it up on search. So Joe Everest, for those of you that aren't listening to the podcast, I like listening on Apple. You can listen on Spotify. You can listen on Anchor. You can listen pretty much wherever good podcasts are broadcast. So, all right. So, does this? Nope. This takes us right back to where we were. Okay. Where do you find? Oh, there they are. Ratings. See all. Okay. It says this is from. I think we know this is who this is from. Dan RC Fence 87 says what Joe brings to the table for the fence trade is priceless. Thank you, Joe, for elevating the fence trade. #FenceFam. Dan, thank you. Appreciate the 5-star review. If you feel so compelled as to leave a 5-star review, we will now be reading them live on the show. All right, guys. How'd your guys' week go? I want to hear about you guys. What was a win? What was a win? What was a hurdle? Give me a win and a hurdle. Let's talk about how your guys' weeks were here around Ozark Fence. It was it was a good week. It was overall. No, it ended in a final Friday. So the last Friday of every month, we get the team together and we do this month. We tried a new concept, and actually, as one of the team members, Eric had presented this that we should have a potluck where everyone brings a dish. And we all try each other's dishes for team lunch. And it was a success, a smashing success. It was really good. I tell you what, we had, oh man, what all did we have? We had some shrimp pasta. We had some cowboy beans. We had some cornbread. We had mac and cheese was really good. I don't want to start saying what was really good. It was all really good. I'm going to miss something, but I'm telling you, I didn't have anything there that I was like, that's all right. It was all, everyone brought their A game. So anyway, the week ended with a final Friday. It also ended with an update for the Wireworks. We're gonna put a big should on this, but the equipment manufacturer Burgundy called and said that it should be ready to ship September the 12th. So it's assembled. Now they're going to run it through trials. They're going to make sure everything's set up just right, that it's running wire just right. Everything is dialed in as it should be. Then they'll disassemble it, crate it up. It should be ready to ship to us September 12th, which means, fingers crossed, we might see it by the end of that week. So here, which is about 2 weeks from now, which is kind of crazy to think. It's going to be here before we know it, which means we've got a lot of work to do over at the new facility. If you guys are following the Week in the Life series, you would have already seen kind of what the facility looks like a little bit. And it's going to start looking a lot different. We need to bring some walls down. We've got one faux wall, and we got two like real walls, like they actually enclose a room, what used to be like a break room or something. I don't know. Move a door, tear down the walls, take out the false ceiling to open up that warehouse floor a little bit. So we got a little bit more room. Now we're bringing in one machine. So technically the warehouse has enough space for one machine, but we want to make space for the future. And when I bolt these things to the floor, I don't want to have to move and rebolt them. And also, we definitely don't want to move them because they're going to be wired in place too. So the electric's going to it's going to drop down from above. So technically it could move. But anyway, we need to get these rooms out of there so the machine can bolt down. Also, we're going to try to get the floor epoxied. So that could be a whole thing in and of itself. We got some fence to build out around back. So we have a secure laydown area. Luckily, we know somebody that does some fence. So anyway, Wireworks update it's still a go. The machine's showing up in a couple weeks, and now we're kicking it into high gear to get everything ready for it. Guys, Caleb's going to be delayed for just a little bit. He thought about a half hour or so. He had a last-minute hiccup come up, and so it'll be about a half hour. But we're going to say hello to you guys. We're going to talk a little bit about some contests we have going on. But first, thank you to Expert Professional Wood Care. We're coming to you live from the Expert Professional Wood Care Studios. If you're looking for wood stain, you can't go much further than them. I mean, they are at the top. I personally, talking about my story and with the Ozark Fence story, we had tried a different brand that is heavily marketed in the fencing world. And the chemical smell really, really pushed us away. I had some concerns about the safety of the product when we're putting it in people's yards. Specifically, I was looking to stain my fence, and I've got young kids, and I was worried about the kids. Is it anything dangerous for them? I've got a 5-year-old son who will absolutely run through walls like Kool-Aid Man style. So it's nothing to him to go touch some wet stain and lick it or something. So anyway, a bit concerned. So we ended up not offering staining and sealing for a while because I thought, well, if this is the product that's out there, I'd rather not. We'll stick with fence. And then I forget who had, but somebody had invited me into the Staining University Facebook page. I didn't know Caleb. I didn't know anybody in the staining industry. But one of my fence friends, one of the fence fam, invited me in and started seeing all this free content that Caleb puts out, and I was hooked. I asked for a sample. They sent me. I thought I was going to get a little sample. They sent me a 5-gallon jug of stain. So opened it up. The first impression was it didn't smell like chemical, right? It smelled, I don't know, like oil is the wrong word, because when I say it smelled like oil, you think petroleum, and that's not it. It's more just like moisturizing oil, like I don't know, moisturizing oil you'd put on kids or something. But I thought, well, maybe we got stirred up, right? They had said this is so pigment heavy, the pigment sinks to the bottom. You got to stir it up. So we stirred it up. Still no chemical smell. Applied it. Turned out really nice. And as they say, the rest was history. That was, 3 or 4 years ago now, I guess. And we still love offering it to our clients. And when Caleb reached out and said, hey, would it make sense if we sponsored the show? It was an obvious yes, right? So with shows like this, there's a little bit, you got to consider who you're bringing on as sponsors, right? Because I'm telling you guys that you should check these guys out if you're interested in what they offer, whether it's Expert Professional Wood Care products, whether it's Nationwide Industries or Arcside or my salesman, whomever. I'm telling you guys, these are good people. I am recommending them to you. So if you go and interact with them and have a bad experience, that doesn't reflect well on me. Or absolute worst case scenario, I don't know what that scenario is, that you realize that the only reason they're a sponsor is for the sponsorship dollars. Not necessarily because I believe in them or I use them, but it's really just a financial transaction. And then it's going to call into question the rest of the sponsors that I introduce you guys to, right? So that's kind of the commitment that we make, is that when someone comes on as a sponsor, when I introduce you to a company as a sponsor, that it's going to be somebody that I personally like doing business with, that the business practices are in check, the products they offer are quality products, that is legitimately a company that I feel good about talking to the public about. Anyway, we've been approached by vendors in the past, and that haven't been a great fit, right? That just, for whatever reason, don't check all the boxes. Either it's not somebody that we do business with, or the business practices maybe aren't questionable, but they just don't align with where I see the industry going. And it just, overall, I don't get a great feeling about it. You know, if the way I think about it is, if someone were to sit me down personally and have a private one-on-one conversation that would not leave us, would I recommend that business to them? Would I recommend whatever the service is, whatever they offer? Would I say, you know what, personally, I'm going to tell you, you need to do business with these people? If it's a no, then we pass, because there are other things in life than simply getting paid sponsorship dollars. So anyway, that's a bit of a tirade. Not a tirade. Tirade sounds angry, but it's a bit of a rabbit hole. But I felt like every now and then we need to go down that rabbit hole just to better explain kind of where we're at on sponsorships, I guess. So let's scroll to the top and say hello to a few people. Of course, first comment. Roger, how are you, sir? Howdy, Fence fam. This Caleb guy looks familiar. You know, we've had him on a time or three. He's pretty good people. He'll be on here just a little bit. And then, as always, Roger's doing a great job reminding everyone, let's not forget about the positive affirmation, recognition stuff, and things. Agreed. All the things. Let's not forget about those. Depending on where you're watching, you know, on Facebook. So Facebook's guidance now says that likes aren't really part of the algorithm anymore, because it's so easy just to click, 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 click. Now they're looking for the hearts, the wows, the angry face, the emoticons. Is that what? I think that's what they're called. Yeah? Did I get that one? Emoticons. Dadgummit, we nailed it. I usually call them like emotional feedback or something, but emoticons, that's what they are. Of course, if you're watching on LinkedIn, it could be the hand clap. It could be whatever. YouTube is just simply a like. YouTube says, listen, you either like it or you don't. They actually, I think they took away the unlike like permanently. Is that right?
You can dislike, you just can't see how many dislikes.
Oh, okay. You can dislike it if you really feel compelled to, but no one else is going to see that, apparently. I guess we can, like behind the scenes, but so, you know, anyway, if you like it, show some love. We definitely do appreciate that. From across the pond, Stevie Boy Billings. Good afternoon, sir. Coming to us from, like I said, across the pond. Appreciate you tuning in. Another constant supporter of the show, Divine Fence Company. Gentlemen, how are you? I enjoy seeing you guys live here, but also Divine's in just about all the comments and all the videos. So I enjoy interacting with you guys there. Now, listen, about the comments. I try to get to everyone. I do. But there are a fair amount of comments that come in on a daily basis. So I can only do comments so long until my wife's like, listen, we're going to bed. You know, let's go. Put the phone down. It's time to get out of here. So, but anyway, Divine says, hey, Fence fam, Joe and Caleb, hope everyone have a great weekend and always look forward to great Fence content with a thumbs up. Divine, thank you. I appreciate it. Guys, as we're waiting for Caleb, let's talk about your big wins of the week. I want to celebrate you guys. I don't want this show to only be about a Q&A, but now if you have fencing questions, by all means, ask them. We've had some great content that's been generated by you guys asking questions. So by all means, fire away. But also, let's talk about your wins of the week. Let's also talk about if you got any hurdles in your business. This is a chance for us to try to help the industry propel itself forward. So if you have something that you're struggling with or questions about whatever, share them. Everyone's here to help. Truth Seeker says, good morning, everyone. Truth Seeker, good morning. Brent Mitch, I'm not going to say like my favorite person on the West Coast, because I know several people on the West Coast, but one of my favorite West Coast folks is Brent Mitch. Brent, good morning. Said, how do I get to a podcast? I'm old. Well, you're not, but okay. So before we get into this, I'm not here for the iPhone versus Android debate. Okay. I don't know. I know I have an iPhone and it works with my other things, so it works for me. Now, I understand there are some people who are devout anti-Apple. Like, they'll go for whatever isn't Apple. And if that floats your boat, then ride in it. But this is my experience. So all I do is I go to the podcast app in my Apple. So it's like Apple Podcast or whatever. Lower now, and everyone's screens might be different. This is something about Facebook. Did you know Facebook always ever has 6 to 8 versions of the app running at simultaneously at any given time? Which means like me and Braden could open up our Facebook apps and they could be completely different, or they could have like 1 or 2 little things could be in different places. They're always testing. So this is how it works on my Apple app. But we go search bar, Joe Everest. It pops up a picture of a guy that looks like me. That's the one. You click onto that, and then you can then listen to it, or you can click up at the top right and follow the show. That's always good. But yeah, you can also search Spotify. So search my name, Joe Everest, on Spotify. It'll pop right up. Anchor is the app that we use. And on Anchor, you can listen to podcasts directly. So if you've got the Anchor app, you could click on that, search my name, and it finds me. So, and that is a tutorial on how to use podcasts. It's probably not a complete tutorial, and it might not be a correct tutorial, but that's how I do it. So anyway. So virtually as it were and is. Yeah, where's is something. Maybe you should do a how to figure out podcast. So actually, if Dan Wheeler's here, he'll pop in and say hello here in just a minute. Dan Wheeler is like the godfather of Fence podcasts. He was the first Fence podcast. Now, his intro used to say first and only, and that's not true anymore because he's strong-armed a few of us into podcasts. But the My Fence Life show is on the podcast. Obviously, the Fence Industry podcast is Dan Wheeler's podcast. So we do a rebroadcast of this show as a podcast, which is, I think, what the My Fence Life, I think they do that too. Now, we're testing out. So we're having a conversation about, so we have a clips channel, which means like, so we take short sections of these longer lives and make them into shorter versions of, anyway, you get it. We have a clips channel for that. So what I'm thinking is on the podcast because everyone's doing these bonus episodes. Listen, I listen to the other guy's podcast, right? Because it's legitimately good Fence content. And everyone's doing bonus episodes. So I thought, what better way to do bonus episodes than to have shorter clips? Because the podcast is typically, it's a rebroadcast of this. It's anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours if we really get into it. So maybe we have shorter clips on the podcast as bonuses. I don't know. Something we're thinking about. Jeremy, welcome back. Hey, guys. Hello, Jeremy. Brent says, I grabbed a 13-pound lobster this week. That is incredible, Brent. I don't doubt when he says he grabbed it, he went down and got it. So I like watching Brent's content. He does good, like underwater, sea hunting type, which is why his YouTube channel is called Seawolf. You should follow it. Found you on Facebook, YouTube. It does not say you're live. Well, it does not say you're live on Spotify. So I'm not live on Spotify, but it says I'm supposed to. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think they were talking about specifically live.
Oh, okay. Let's start. Yeah, okay. So I just put Joe Everest into Spotify, and there it is. The Fence Expert Podcast with Joe Everest. That would be this one. So, yep, Spotify as well. It's not live. This show right now isn't live on Spotify because I don't know how to do that, but the podcast is on Spotify. Kenny Dugan, good morning. Good morning, Joe and Fence fam. Kenny, so glad to have you with us. Kenny will be joining us in November. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. We're doing another staining university here in Springfield. Divine says, Expert Stains is a great company with awesome products. We've been using them more and more, trying to make it more normal to stain in our area. Agreed. And we share that similar story in that, before we started offering fence staining, there was one company that offered it, like a franchise type staining company, but they're not, for whatever reason, they don't market really well in this area. You don't see them. I mean, you see fence stain, but even on fences they stain, I don't know that they put signs on it. I I haven't seen one of their signs around, but also I don't see them advertised in social media or radio or just anywhere. I don't really see their vehicles. So that's kind of where this came to. I was like, well, I enjoy marketing and we can do it well. So why not jump in and test the waters? But to your point, so Divine says, and they're trying to make it more normal to stay in their area. That's kind of the what we're pushing up against is really people, when they build a wood fence, they let it go gray. They just let it age naturally. Which the problem is, it's really just letting it get destroyed by UV, right? Is this natural aging process. So we're trying to re-educate. We're trying to explain how you can prolong the life of your fence and you can keep it looking great longer by using a stain such as Expert Professional Wood Care. Now, it's a big hill to climb. We're making progress. Now, when people are calling in, we're offering them the pre-stain option. They're taking it more often than they're not, it seems like. And yeah, so it's becoming more normal. But like I said, we're 3 or 4 years into it. So it's a long hill to climb. It's a tall hill to climb. But I think, well, once you start getting there, it starts to pay off. Absolutely. Speak of the devil, Dan Wheeler in the flesh. Good morning, Joe. I'm plating posts in Iowa and have the phone propped up and watching. TFIP 15. That's a good segue into the contest that we're running currently over on ozfence.store. We're having a little bit of a friendly competition between the two Dans, Dan and Cannon. Dan versus Dan and Cannon. That's a better way to say that. So we've got 2 discount codes. We have TFIP 15 and MFL, My Fence Life 15, as discount codes on ozfence.store. So if you're looking for fence hardware, one, you generally can find some better prices there than elsewhere online. And you can save 15% by using the discount code. So it's a win-win. And if the order's $150 or more, we'll ship it for free. We also, if it's before noon on normal business hours, Monday through Friday, then we'll get it out that same day. Now, orders that come in over the weekend ship out Monday morning. But yeah, so if you're looking for fence hardware, check out ozfence.store, and you can use discount codes TFIP15 or MFL15 to jump in on the competition. Fellow Joe is here. Howdy from Southeast Texas. Joe, hello. Welcome, sir. All right, let's talk about some contests we're running. So every month we run a contest to give away an Amazon $100 gift card. There we go. Trying not to like blind you guys out with lights here. But every month we give away an Amazon $100 gift card. Now, this is technically a physical card. We were just shooting some thumbnails. So we need a physical card. Typically, it's a digital e-card. I think that's what they're called, where simply we just enter in your address and it sends you over $100 on Amazon, something that everyone can use. And what we're trying to do is say thank you for watching the show, right? We're trying to reward people who consistently and repeatedly watch the show. I think consistently and repeatedly are similes. They mean the same thing. But anyway, for more information, do we have that in the description below, Braden? Yeah. Gift card contest description. Braden's getting ready to drop it in the comments below on how to jump into the contest. We also have it in the description of all the regularly recorded videos, the week in review, week in the life videos. We give away secret codes in those. Now you get to register simply by just entering your information, name and email address. Now, we don't share the email address, we don't sell it. Currently, we're not even sending out emails. We will probably start sending out emails with like updates on the show. Like, here's what we're doing. Here's what we've recently had up. Here's a link to the podcast, that sort of thing. But we're not going to be spam stuff because I don't like getting spam myself. So I don't want to be one of the people on the other side of the table that's sending out spam. Anyway, you get a registration or you get an entry by entering in your information, but you can also get additional entries by entering in secret codes or secret phrases that we say on the Week in the Life show episodes. Week in the Life, and it's usually it's been me. So we make it very clear this is the secret phrase, and then we give it to you. For instance, one of them, I'll give it out here. One of them is, how do we do this? Expert. There we go. It's backwards on the camera. So one of the secret codes is experts. You can use the code expert and you get additional entries. You can also go back into previous videos and get those secret codes and enter those and still get credit for that as well. You also get bonus credit if you enter every month. So if you're consistently entering in the contest, you get additional entries. Now, this is only the second month. So those of you that jumped in last month, you can get credit for joining in this month. Now, if this is your first month, no additional credit because this is your first month. But next month, you will get additional credit, additional entries into the contest. I hope that's clear enough. Anyway, we're just trying to say thank you to you guys for watching the show and watching them towards the end, like watching the majority of the content. We try to hide the secret phrases towards the end because that's a thing on YouTube. Like average view percentage is a real thing. So we're trying to reward those that do make it to the end of the I was going to say production, but you know, you get it. The episodes. There you go. Joe says, I sure appreciate the one I won. That's it. Joe is the last month's winner. And it was pretty easy. You know, like I said, just entered in Joe's email address and emailed it over to him, and it notified me when he claimed it. $100 on Amazon. It seems like we're trying to figure out what's a good win. What's a good win? What's a good prize to win? And it seems like nowadays everyone's on Amazon. So that seemed like a good solution. Speaking of the gift card entry, we've got them both on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you're watching, check out the comments below. If you're listening on the podcast, check out the YouTube episode in the comments in the YouTube episode to see how to join the contest. You're going to have to watch YouTube anyway to get the secret phrases. So anyway, so we are running that. We are running the $100 Amazon gift card. That is every month. I don't want to say forever, like no definitive statements, but for the foreseeable future, this is a thing. I want to give back to you guys and say thank you for watching the show. All right. Second contest we're running, Spend a Day with the Experts is open right now. We open it up once a quarter for a company, typically 2 team members from the company. Now, last month, we were talking to Bo Butler, who brought down his whole team. It is an option if you're willing to bring yourself to town. We're not flying the whole team in. We'll fly you and a guest. Or if you want to bring the whole team, that's fine too. Just bring them on down here to Southwest Missouri. We fly you and a guest down. We put you up in a fairly nice hotel. It's what is it called? It's called the Angler's Inn. It's right across from Bass Pro Shops, which is the largest Bass Pro Shops in the world because we are the world headquarters. And he always likes to keep it a little bit bigger. Now, I think it's probably like 100 square foot bigger or something. Like it's not. If you've been to Memphis and seen the pyramid, that is a substantial Bass Pro Shop. So anyway, put you up. We bring you in for the day. So we typically fly you in, or you can come in the night before. We all have dinner, talk about we set some expectations on what your expectations are from me and the group, so that then I can relay that to the crew in the next morning when we kind of do a morning meetup before the guests show up and go over kind of what their expectations are. My expectations are always that we are an open book. So no questions off limits, no doors are closed. They have full access to the facility, the team, nothing's out of bounds. So we set that expectation. Then we have a day of learning. And part of that expectation, when I'm asking about expectations, is who do you want to meet? Now, you might not know specifically, but what roles do you want to meet, right? Do you want to talk about residential sales and processes? Because that'd be a great conversation to have with Sarah. Do you want to talk about fabrication and how our fabrication shop is set up? That'd be a great conversation to have with Matt. You want to talk about production installation? We can team you up with Scott. Do you want to talk about inventory in e-commerce? I'll team you up with Eric. So try to figure out who to put you with. Now, typically we'll do a round robin where you'll end up seeing everyone, but we wanted to see who to seat you with first, so you get all of your questions answered there. We break for lunch. We have a big team lunch. So this is typically the last Friday of the month. Now, for October, I'm going to be out of town that week. So actually, I'm coming in that day from out of town. So we're going to have to move it back a week. But anyway, regardless. Friday, we do it. So it's typical last Friday. So we do Final Friday with the team, where typically we have that lunch catered in. That way, because when we're cooking food, it takes, a good part of the morning to cook everything up for the team. So we cater food in. We have a good lunch. We basically have a round robin around the table of questions and comments. And then for the afternoon, we say, okay, so you've met everyone. You've had a conversation with everyone. Who do you want to spend a second round with? Do you have follow-up questions for residential, commercial, fabrication, whomever? Like, if you really want to dive deep, drill down far, who do you want to drill down with, right? And we'll seat you with them, get you in with them, or you can kind of dictate your own future as far as that goes. We wrap that up that evening with another dinner. The next day, Saturday, I bring you back. We do a live with you guys, the live Q&A viewers. Typically, the guests get in a little bit early on Saturday, and we have kind of a one-on-one again, like a last final one-on-one. You've had a full day, and you've had a full night to digest that day. What follow-on questions do you have on Saturday? And then we send you on your way. We send you back home. You also get follow-up Zoom calls. So I think we say 2 a year for 4 years or something. Like, basically, if you need access to me, you've got access to me. So Jason with Tail and Fence, he and I are coordinating. So he was the second winner to come in. He had some big news that he shared with me, and we chatted about that for a little bit. He said, "Hey, I think it's about time for that Zoom call." Totally fine. We're going to set that up next week and get that all squared away. So anyway, you still have access to me and the team. If you're in the middle of a project, or if you're in a sticky situation, you say, "Hey, I wish I could reach back out and learn more about how they do this in the fabrication shop," then we set up a Zoom call with Matt, and you go through whatever it is you're going through. So anyway, that contest is open. That is in the description below. Check out that link. We've got a few good submissions that I'm pretty excited about, but we could always use more. Right. And if you've applied in months past, you should definitely reapply. We've had some pretty hard decisions to make. We can only pick one, right? So a lot of times we'll have 3 or 4 fantastic choices. We could really pick any of them and be, in a really good spot. We could make a real difference in one of these people's business, but we can only pick one. So if you've entered to win before, but you haven't been chosen, you should consider entering again for sure. All right. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Joe says a 65 Mustang would be a good prize. Okay, for you, but like maybe for somebody else, that's not a good choice. Maybe they're not Ford people. Maybe they say, "I would never in my life drive a Mustang. It needs to be a Corvette, or it needs to, who knows." So no 65 Mustangs. And let's be honest, we're doing this every month. We're not giving away 12 65 Mustangs. Where are you going to find 12 of them is a good question. And then 2, we would never financially recover from that. Okay. Come on, Joe. $100 gift cards is where we're at on the monthly contest. All right. So let's do this. I've also got this week's Week in the Life that's going to go up Monday. Is that right? When are these scheduled to go? Week in the Life Monday. Scheduled to go up Monday, but I'm giving you guys a sneak preview. I'm pretty excited about it. It's we wrapped up a dinosaur enclosure. So the Springfield Discovery Center of Springfield had reached out to me initially. I probably explained it in the video, I bet. But Tyler Moles is one of the guys over there that we interact with a lot. I forget his job title, but he's like number 2 dude over there at Discovery Center of Springfield. He reached out and said, "Hey, we've got these electrical, what are they, transformer boxes that kids are playing on, and we don't want them to play on them. So we want a fence around it. But we don't just want a fence, because then it's just going to be a fence around some transformers. So we're going to plant sunflowers." I'm like, "Oh, that's kind of interesting." Yes, sure. Yeah, we'd be happy to help however we can. And then randomly, he's like, I get a text. Like, the text is literally, "What about dinosaurs?" And this was like a week after we had talked about it. So I did not remember that we had talked about this, or it wasn't fresh in my memory. So all I get is a text that says, "What about dinosaurs?" So I text him back and I said, I don't know, Tyler. What about dinosaurs? I'm a big fan. Jackson's a massive fan of dinosaurs. If you're looking to talk to somebody about dinosaurs, I can connect you with Jackson, and you guys could talk for hours probably. He goes, No. Dinosaurs in the fence enclosure. He goes, "What do you think about that?" I like that a lot, because then we're talking about kind of like an attraction, right? But it's still safety enclosure, but we're kind of spicing it up a little bit, making it look kind of interesting and neat. He goes, "But we're looking for somebody to sponsor the dinosaurs." So, okay, I like this. And so I said, "Yeah, we will. That's totally fine. I like this idea a lot." And Jackson loves dinosaurs, so he would get a kick out of the fact that we're putting dinosaurs in this fence bin. But I said, could one of the dinosaurs be orange? And he said, "Anything can be orange with the right amount of paint." That is absolutely the correct answer, Tyler. So anyway, so we sponsored the dinosaurs. Ameristar Perimeters Security partnered up with us on the fence. They provide the fencing, we provide the labor, and then we covered the cost of the dinosaurs. So great project. We enjoyed it a lot. So let's check it out. See if I did this right. So far we're winning. Here we go. It is Monday morning. It is gearing up to be a busy week. We were just discussing off camera that we've got 3 folks out sick. One with a positive COVID test, the other 2 with stomach bugs of some kind. Anyway, a bit shorthanded, but it is what it is, right? So we're going to take a crew over to the Springfield Discovery Center, where we're putting up a pretty exciting fence. It's a fence that we're donating. I don't want to give too much of it away, but they're enclosing something pretty special, and we'd like to be a part of it. We're going to take Victor and his guys over to Discovery Center and lay out a project. They also brought in what looks like a metric ton of mulch. There's a lot of mulch there. So here, turn here, the single gate, yeah, the single gate here. There's the orange dinosaur himself. Or herself. It could be either.
What do you think? This side or this side?
Probably that side, yeah. The only thing they're worried about is kids. So that's not too high. Go for it. Yeah. Okay, well, let me know.
Once we were sure that the dinosaur pen was off to a great start and in the capable hands of Victor and Abe, we hit the road again. To see how well this project turned out, stick around to the end of the video. If you guys are watching the channel, then you know we're starting up another company that specializes in manufacturing chain link wire. We had a few things need to go over to the new facility, so Chase and Dalton loaded them up and met us over there.
Right here. One strap, overall.
The secret code for this week is Keystone.
Oh, hello there. Well, I guess you saw everything get set up. Well, the important things. I mean, my office is obviously ready. So now nothing else is really ready. We still have machinery to show up. We still have some electrical to get installed. We obviously have quite a ways to go. But the key pieces are in place for this business to skyrocket in the future. Stay tuned. With the essential, it's actually going to be our conference room. Under control at the new facility, we head over to Sarcoma for some lunch. those of you guys that I have not met, that do not know, my name is Joe Everest. I'm the current president of Springfield, Sarcoma. Today is an exciting day. I think all the Sarcomas in the room will agree, because this is kind of the day that we build up for, that we feel like we work all year for, generating funds and we're putting in a lot of time and effort, and this is kind of the culmination of that. I think you guys would agree with me on that. So I'm excited. Sarcomas in the room are excited. So if you're a guest, if you're here receiving these funds, we want to say we appreciate you guys also helping make this happen. So Springfield Sarcoma, what does Sarcoma stand for? Well, it stands for Service to Mankind. It's a local charitable organization that aims to give back and help organizations that help the kids in our community. Help those that are helping others, sort of thing.
Be encouraged and just really impressed by the compassion of those of you who have spent a lot of time and resources to make these things possible. So I just want to say that up front.
If you guys follow the channel, then you know once a quarter I bring in a team of fencing professionals to learn from me and my team. We try to help others by showing them how we operate. If you're watching the Week in the Life, way back in episode 2 was the second round winners of this Spend a Day with the Expert. Well, it's time to do it again. Bo and his team made the trek down from Colorado. Yeah, they work with Twist like crazy. Yeah.
Really quick on the material order. So I'm assuming you guys, like when you're sourcing your stuff, do you check with different suppliers on like costs, or do you typically use one supplier?
We try to use one supplier.
Okay.
After a jam-packed morning of training, it was time for lunch and Kai's birthday. Now, I asked Kai earlier, I said, is 23 better than 22? And he said, yes, definitely better, right? Oh, yeah, much better. All right. Well, let's all sing happy birthday to Kai. Does that sound good, Kai? All right, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kai. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Kai. Now, as the company and specifically the shipping department grow, we bring in a lot of stuff from Uline. Not a sponsor, but they do provide an excellent service. Now, when you buy above a certain dollar amount from Uline, they kick in free stuff. You get to pick a free gift. Well, when we do that, we give those away. We raffle them off at the final Friday. Come up, shake them up. 9, 2, 3. All right.
1, 2, 3.
9, 3, 2. Exactly. 9, 3, 2. Wow.
Hi, Bryn.
Hi, Kai.
9, 2, 8. What's up? We got a Yeti cooler.
That sucker's.
Mine is.
I don't know what size.
Yeah.
It's a Tundra 35. If that
Hopefully,
tells
I
you
will
anything.
win.
35.
Hopefully.
There you go.
35 beers. 9, 2, 3.
Hey!
Hey! Reese. All right. That's it.
This will be on Marketplace later. I'm just playing.
Any words of wisdom?
Tonight is always darkest,
Just
just before the dawn. Tonight is always darkest, just before the dawn.
Words of wisdom with Chase.
I got $10 says Bueller out there. You buy at least 20 feet.
Let's go. Who do you think's gonna win, Matt?
Who's it between?
Between Chase and Bueller.
So rude. My last day, and all haters hate, man.
That was okay. Holy crap. Well, that was definitely farther.
And with that, another week successfully in the books. But I haven't shown you how that dinosaur fence turned out. We took a trip back to see exactly how it turned out once the fence is done, but also once the Discovery Center spruced it up a little bit. All right, guys, I think you'll agree with me. This turned out really nice. Thanks to the Discovery Center for bringing us in on the project. Also, huge shout out to Ameristar Perimeter Security for partnering with us and providing the fencing system itself. Like I said, I think you'll agree. It turned out pretty sweet. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Guys, hope you enjoyed the episode. I love putting these on. The team loves putting them on. I hope. Well, guys, what do you think? I think it turned out pretty good. Braden is killing it and putting these together. So we want to give you guys kind of a snapshot into what a week looks like. There's going to be, we had seen comments, we've seen people asking for more on-site content. So It's coming up. So, what is it? You recorded some last week and then again this week, right? So here is that going up next week then?
Next week will be the 30th.
Yeah. So starting next week, you'll see some on-site content with Scott.
Week
Week
after.
after.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. You'll see a couple in 2 weeks. You'll see 2 weeks of back-to-back on-site content. So pretty excited about that. If you guys want to see something different in the week in the life, let us know. I mean, we're always open to suggestions. We're kind of sitting around thinking, I don't know, what do you think they like to see? Well, I think they'd like to see this and this, but you know best what you would like to watch. So let us know about that in the comments below. Speaking of comments, got a few. Chris Caruso, welcome, sir. Christopher Caruso, welcome, sir. Hey guys, great show. Chris from Kasurik. And now, if you guys recognize that name, we were actually visited with Chris at Kasurik in Philadelphia for their training event. Watching on vacation, Christopher. Chris, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Where are you on vacation? Like a region, maybe just give us. I'm jealous. We did vacation a few weeks ago, and I'm missing it. Apex says 67 Mustang, not 65, but everyone knows the Javelin is the best. All right. I don't even know. I'm not a car guy. Like, obviously, I know the Mustang. I'm not familiar with a Javelin. So maybe some education on what a Javelin is. Andy says, what's up from Tallahassee, Florida? Love the content from a fellow fencer. Andy, thank you. Appreciate you for sure. I'm a big fan of Florida in general. That's where we went on vacation to, and I absolutely love it. Hey, Joe, on residential privacy fence installations, you ever consider the grade of the yard and how water runs off the property and not putting posts when using wood in areas where blocks water drainage? Absolutely. Now, within reason, right? If it's a corner post or a gate post, something that has to go there, then it goes there, right? But if we can avoid it, we do. If we can avoid putting a fence in line with water runoff in general, we typically do that, or we'll leave it off the ground a little bit, just knowing water's going to run through here. And we want to try to reduce the amount of water contact this fence has, right? The post, typically we would wrap with a post saver product, which is a purpose-built product that prevents rot. It bonds to the wood post to prevent rot from happening. So we would try to give it as much protection as possible if it absolutely had to go in the path of that water. But there would also be a conversation that, this water will probably eat away at the soil around the concrete post. It'll start to run off with that soil. So eventually we're going to have to come back and try to fix this at some point. We typically dig a bit deeper, and set that post a bit deeper so that it has more footing to support itself, to try, just because we know it's going to be a problem in the future. But yeah, to answer your question, typically we do try to avoid putting posts, even if they're not wood, even if they're steel or aluminum posts. We still know that running water, when it hits that post, is going to swirl a little bit, especially when it hits the concrete. If the concrete's raised, it's going to swirl. And so it'll start to eat away at the soil right around the post and then the concrete slug. So while wood, we would be worried about rot, even if it's a galvanized steel or a powder-coated steel or aluminum, we would still be worried about the soil being eroded around that concrete slug over time and causing a problem at some point down the road. So that conversation would happen here regardless. We would try to avoid putting posts in the way of moving water. Joe says, I used to watch 2 AMC Javelins race at a racetrack. And I think it was Delta, Colorado, back in the early to mid 80s. I still have good memories of that. I still don't know what a Javelin is. I'm probably showing my age there. I was born in the early 80s. So I was a bit of a youngster whenever we're talking about these races. Andy said, oh, no doubt. Okay. I am being shown a picture of a Javelin. That is slick. I like it. Do they come in orange? Probably, right? Actually, I see one that's orange right now. Oh, very good. And by a company called AMC. Interesting. I agree now. I'm with you. Now, I'm not going to get into the Mustang versus whatever debate, but those Javelins do look pretty sweet. Andy says, where's the best place for a newbie to get quality fence instruction? That's a great question. There are individuals that put on training. So Sean King, Mr. Fence, comes to mind. He puts on on the road trainings, just kind of a little bit of everywhere. We talked to him. What was it? Just last week, he was up in Canada. I believe he was making his way back down to Indiana for some much needed R&R, and then kind of going on another circuit of training. I believe he was actually just down in Florida, though. So I don't know that he'll be down in Florida again soon, but you never know. He does on the road training. Also, the American Fence Association does on the road training. You can check out with them. I know they've got, I think it's a New York training coming up pretty soon. I don't know when they're going to be back down in Florida. In Florida, check out the North American Fence Association, NAFCA, Fence Contractors Association, North American Fence Contractors Association, I believe. They do every year. They'll do a big show and a training in Florida. I'm not sure exactly where in Florida, but it'll be a little bit closer to you than, say like so AFA also does some trainings when they host Fence Tech. So in February or March, Fence Tech, March, I think. February. Yeah, end of February, 1st of March. It's going to be in Oklahoma City. So now that's less hands-on training, and it's more like structured classroom training. They also have speakers come in. Matt Warner's again going to talk about team culture, I believe on Tuesday. So it's going to depend, right? It's going to depend. But so, like I said, Mr. Fence, Sean King, Mr. Fence Academy is a good resource. The American Fence Association, North American Fence Contractors Association, NAFCA, is a good resource. Also, so check out also FWA, the Fence Workers Association. They're building out like an online library of training and basically resources for you. Check out the associations. They'd be a good place to start. Like I said, or private training through Sean King. Yeah, probably be a good place to start. Joe says, you're going to get debris buildup in water runoff area. Absolutely. So, and that's typically one of the reasons also to raise the fence up as much as possible. Now, I fully understand that the reason we build fence is typically for kids, pets, or bad neighbors. So you don't want the fence too far off the ground, but you do want water to be able to run under it. Just exactly what you're talking about, Joe, so you don't get debris built up. Like think a dam, right? Like a beaver dam just starts collecting all of this debris that's running through it and over it. Same thing is going to happen with the fence. Kusurg Distributors. Hey, guys. Chris from Kusurg watching while on vacation. Chris, welcome. I appreciate the love from both channels. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Andy, you're very welcome. Guys, if you got any fence-related questions, drop them in the comments below. I'm thinking Caleb will be on just any time. Let me check. I've got my phone on Do Not Disturb, so that's probably no text. Let me give him a text just to see. Like I said, he was a little unsure exactly how long this was going to run. You coming? All right. What else we got going on? We've got so Amazon gift card. We've got the spend a day with the expert where you and a guest would spend the day with, and actually it's like a day and a half with me. It's a day with me and the team, and it's another half a day with me, trying to make the industry better. We got Fence Tech coming up. We don't have a lot. Well, bingo. Very good. Next thing on the agenda, Standing University coming to Springfield, Missouri in November. When in November? Fantastic question. Mid-November. Let's look at a calendar real quick. 10th and 11th. November 10th and 11th, which, all right. Let's double check this. That definitely does sound right, though. November. Nope. Well, I just don't have it in my calendar. Okay. Well, that's something we're going to have to change. Yeah, it is 10th and 11th because I've got the open house for the 9th. So November 10th and 11th here in Springfield. If you guys attended last year's, same concept, same location. Now, the actual Standing University will be held at the Doubletree here in Springfield simply because they've got a hotel that's connected with some rooms for the in-room or seated training, but they also have a fence outside that we built. Actually, we stained the fence that we built last time. This time, I think they had like a car park or a parking garage and another hotel built. And that contractor, the GC, ended up self-performing the wood fence on that. But anyway, they have a hotel. It's a pretty nice hotel with a restaurant. They've got the training rooms, and they've got a fence need stained all on site. So literally, if you can get yourself to that hotel, you found it, right? So we're not having to try to move locations, or we're not trying to figure out transportation for everyone to an offsite location for the fencing instruction, for the fence staining and fence cleaning talk. So November 9th, the day before the training, we're hosting an open house here at Ozark Fence too. So if you come in a day early, you can hang out with the team and see kind of how everything runs. Now, it's not as in depth as a spend the day with the expert where you get direct one-on-one access to it. It's just more of like a group learning experience. So if you come in November 9th, you can do that. 10th and 11th is Staining University. That link you can find in the description below if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you should be. You can click on over and check out the description. Again, if you're listening on podcast, check out youtube.com/Joe Everest to find the channel. Click on the most recent live. The link will be in the description below. Staining University is going to have a mixture of classwork and on-site, hands-on staining, kind of like what you see here behind me, where we're actually going to have a staining machine with stain so you can actually put your hands on some equipment and do it in an environment that, if it doesn't get done right, you'll learn. It's actually a neat demonstration that you can do it completely wrong and backwards, and it'll fix itself. Once you flood coat over it, problem resolves. Give it an hour later, you don't even know that there was a problem there, that you'd over applied or under applied, whatever. It's a self-leveling stain. So it's a neat demonstration. Also, Kenny Dugan, who's here watching with us, does a fantastic job discussing chemical applications, which chemicals to apply, how to apply them, at what solution or dilution you should look at for any given problem. Kenny's like the mad scientist of fence cleaning, or wood cleaning, not just fence. It's also anything wood. I saw on Facebook in one of the Facebook groups, probably the Staining University group, he's got like 30 fence samples, 30 stain samples that he's doing a big test with, just to kind of test durability and just an overall product test. So excited to see that. So he'll be there as well. Matt Warner will be there again, talking about kind of culture, team building, that sort of thing. He is the guy to talk about that. Caleb and Ashley will be there to talk more about stain and running a stain business, how to get a stain business off the ground, what people, how you should run it, right? How you should set it up, how to get it up off the ground, kind of an overall view on how to price. We don't actually speak about pricing because that would violate some antitrust rules. But we do talk about how to come up with the price, what formulas to use, and where you should be profitability wise as a percentage sort of thing. We do not only the stain training, is the point I'm trying to make, but we also do some business training as well. I talk about marketing and how to market yourself via video, which is something I've been talking about for the last 3 or 4 years. And, it's one of those things where when business is good, it's less on your mind sort of thing. But I think in the near term, the next several years, I think it won't be as good. Now, I don't know that the economy will ever not be good, but it might not be as on fire as it has been in the past. So some folks are going to need to learn how to market. There's some companies that have started up in the last year or two that haven't needed to market. I mean, you can fall backwards into work right now. So they haven't needed to market. They haven't kind of built out that muscle on what marketing looks like, on how to market and what to expect from marketing, as far as how long you need to market before you can see some feedback and some returns. So anyway, we're gonna keep beating on that drum, because I've seen it work in my business. I know exactly how powerful it can be. And we're going to introduce some more people to the power of video marketing. Dan Wheeler says he's going to try to make Staining University in Springfield. Love it. I'd love to have you, show you around the place. Christopher says, before you know it, April will be here for our state event again. Absolutely. We'll be back in Philadelphia in April, and I'm looking forward to it. I had a heck of a good time. So Staining University in November here in Springfield. Now, if you came last year, we were in a pretty large classroom because we moved it. So last year was like, it was September, October-ish last year. This year we bumped it back to November because really the feedback we got from those that weren't able to attend is it was right at the end of the season. So everyone's trying to get as much work done as they can before the season's over, which is absolutely understandable. We pushed it further back into the year into November, mid-November, hoping that more people would be able to come. But that being said, it kind of closed in our options as far as which rooms were available. November is kind of a big time where, we're getting into holiday seasons. So they didn't have the same rooms available, same classrooms available. The classroom that we have reserved seats 60 people. So we're going to limit the reservations to 50, knowing that we've got speakers coming that are probably going to bring significant others or bring, video people, whomever. They're going to bring guests. So we're limiting it to 50 people. The first 50 people to sign up get a spot to come to Sanding University. What is the cost of Sanding University? It's whatever it costs you to get there and stay there. Now, the actual university does not have a charge to it because, and Caleb and I can talk about this more in a little bit, but our nightmare scenario is that someone doesn't attend because financially it's not viable. Now, what you might be saying is, well, Joe, I'm glad that the event is free, but I still have to get myself there. I still have travel expense and lodging expense and meal expense, that sort of thing. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We're working out. We're in a group chat with this. We've got a group chat going on with the speakers at the event where we're talking about kind of like a scholarship program where, because like I said, the nightmare is someone doesn't come because they can't afford to, and we miss out on a future industry leader, right? So how do we get that person here? Because arguably those are the folks that need it the most. I firmly believe everyone needs to be there. If nothing else, just to be in the same room with these other professionals in the same industry, bouncing ideas off each other, talking about what works in their situation versus other situations. Everyone needs to be there, but the people that probably need it the most are the people starting out in the beginning that probably don't have the funding. So anyway, long story short, we're trying to figure out what it looks like to put together a scholarship sort of scenario. So stay tuned in the future. We might talk about that a little bit today with Caleb. See who else is here. Josh Rand, Aloha Fence is finally here. It's all right, Josh. You're like here in the middle of the thing, and Caleb isn't even here yet. So you haven't missed out. You missed out on me talking about some contests we're running. We're doing the Amazon gift card giveaway where you could enter to win a $100 Amazon gift card. We also talked about the Spend a Day with the Expert contest that we're running. We run it every quarter to where we bring in a winner and a guest, or in the case of Bo Butler, he brought his whole team where you could spend a full day with me and the full team, and then another half a day with me, just to kind of see the business, how it runs, and see how effective we can make your business, how we can help your business. And then Sanding University coming up in November 10th and 11th. So that is a short recap of what you've missed. Now, you also missed the week in the life. So you're going to have to, you can either watch the replay. Once this is done recording, we talked about this last week. After this is done with the live, it takes a little bit to buffer, and then it re-uploads it in the live Q&A playlist on the YouTube channel. So you can watch the week in the life video there, or on Monday, it goes out to the public. So, and now you are caught up, Josh. Guys, let me know if you got any questions in the comments below. Always willing to help out and talk about it. We're still waiting for Caleb like I said, had an unforeseen, I don't want to say hurdle. It's not like negative. He just had something came up that's going to take a little bit of his time this morning. Jeremy says, win for the week was getting a Nextdoor Neighborhood Favorite Award. Fantastic, Jeremy. Every little thing helps at this point. Absolutely. Now I have to focus on marketing like you were just saying. Absolutely. But that's a huge win for the week. So the Nextdoor app is an interestingly powerful tool because they're still really limiting the advertising you can do on Nextdoor. Now you can do advertising, but one, is pretty expensive, and two, it's only available in certain categories. It's not wide open like a Facebook would be. So people are still using it because here's the thing. with all these platforms, when you look at the reason that people are leaving the platforms, typically in general, it's typically advertising. Advertisers ruin it for everyone. And I say that as someone that advertises. We ruin it for everybody just because we want to get our message to the people. But then it gets to be a bit too much. Nextdoor seems to be solving that so far, in that they're limiting the amount of advertising on the platform. So people are still using it pretty regularly. So that's why I say it is a pretty massive win to be recognized on Nextdoor. Yeah. Share me, if you don't mind, share with us the process of what that looks like. What does the Neighborhood Favorite Award look like? Is it a contribution type award, or is it what is it? I think we'd all like to know. I'm personally interested in learning more about Nextdoor because my neighborhood has it, and I'm pretty active in the app, talking to other neighbors in our area, but also you can kind of select the area of people that you see. So also I get notifications from my parents' neighborhood because I must have checked that box at some point. So I'm pretty active in it, and it's an interesting app. It keeps people engaged, which as an advertiser is really interesting. So yeah, let us know more about this award, and how do you, Jeremy, let me ask you, how do you use Nextdoor? I see a lot of folks who aren't in approved categories or just don't want to pay the advertising expense, kind of advertising their business in the comment, like in the conversation part of Nextdoor. So one that keeps popping up on mine is a house cleaner who just so happens, it's like once a week or so. It might be every 2 weeks. They just so happen to have another half day available for cleaning. They're opening up a little bit more of their schedule and bringing on another half day cleaning of a house. Now, they say they keep opening their schedule. Like, how big is this schedule that you're just opening up half days or full day cleanings, or anyway? But that's not like in the advertising portion of Nextdoor. That's just in the like organic post section of Nextdoor. I'm interested, Jeremy, to hear how you use Nextdoor. Apex got to go. Got some gate repairs to do. Y'all have a good day and catch up later. Sounds good. Go get those gate repairs. True Seeker says, Jeremy, we received that award as well. Happy to use that in our marketing. Guys, let's talk about it. So both Jeremy and Truth Seeker have won awards, this particular award in Nextdoor. What is the award is a question I've got, and how are you using it would be a good question too. How did you get it? What is it? How are you using it? Like I said, Nextdoor is an app that I'm keeping an eye on because, well, I don't know. So I was going to say because it's typically homeowners like that. As a fence company, homeowners are our demographic, right? If those that live in, apartments, we can't do much fence for them. Now, we do quite a bit of fence for like management companies, but that's a different story. We wanted to talk to homeowners when we're having a conversation about us building fence. I want to talk to the homeowner. So Nextdoor app seems to be a good app for that. Now, there's nothing that keeps people out of it that are, say, renting, right? Like if they have an address within the neighborhood, they have access to it. But by and large, I think it does a good job at allowing us to have a direct conversation with homeowners. So if you guys are using Nextdoor, I would love to have a conversation about that on here so that everyone can learn from it on how you guys are using it, the awards you're using it for, or how you guys are winning the awards. Jeremy says, not sure how I received this award. Must be doing good stuff, though. The message says it was because I was recommended by neighbors. Okay. But I only have a few reviews. I advertised on it once. Nextdoor sends a bunch of marketing. Good to know. But it sounds like someone has probably used you from seeing some of that advertising. Nextdoor then probably asked them to share their experience at a positive experience. And so thus you won the award. Either way, great work. All right, guys, here he is live in the flesh. Caleb, sir, how are you?
Joe, I made it, man. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Looks like you are on the move, sir.
I am in the mountains of North Carolina, and you got to get in a special spot. My kids are up on top holding the antenna, and it's just in the right place. So we got service. We found service.
Very good. Where in North Carolina?
Western North Carolina.
North Carolina.
I'm in a town called Morganton. This is where I come from. This is my stomping grounds.
Very cool. And sharing that experience with the kiddos.
Absolutely.
Very
Got to know who their family is. So
Yeah.
if anybody's seen the movie Last of the Mohegans, this is where I'm from. That is the exact place the movie was filmed. So that's what the geography looks like. Very beautiful place.
Fantastic. Well, Caleb, how is life treating you right now?
Man, if I was any better, I would probably get arrested. I would. Life is great.
Good. Very good. Well, I appreciate you joining us. I do. So far, we've been talking about some contests we're running, but we just got done talking about Staining University that we're holding here in November, here in Springfield, Missouri, that we're pretty excited about.
That's awesome, man.
Also, so I haven't talked about it yet, but I got to tell you, this room is full of a citronella smell. Like this. First off, all right, so we're going to spend some time talking about citronella because I'm a pretty massive fan about it. Let's talk about the packaging this stuff comes in, which is like, it's a full-on air, like, chamber protection system. What are these called?
Tanning beds.
Tanning beds. That makes sense.
Yeah. No. In my office, they call them tanning beds because they look like little tanning beds.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's packaged, made. It's a special machine that makes those. It's pretty cool. Keeps them safe.
It's basically like a full-on just air pad, right? What does it remind me of? It reminds me kind of so in some football helmets, they'll have these air chambers in them. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. So we're gonna actually swap to a metal bottle for these, and you can play baseball with the metal bottle and it won't open. It's awesome.
Fantastic. Well, I tell you, so I opened up this one. So typically we're using these outside, and you can definitely smell it even outside. But I opened this thing inside, and let me tell you, when it says it's a concentrate, it's not kidding.
There's no fillers in that, man. It's pure.
The smell is just it is great.
Yeah, the idea behind that, since we're going straight into citronella, is the idea is everywhere we go, people say, hey, there's bees in my fence. There's bees in my deck. They're in the side of my wooden house. And when the bees get in, the woodpeckers soon follow. And so you end up with a lot of damage. Or you just wind up with bees everywhere and sawdust from them boring holes. So a bee bores a hole in and then over. And so if you've got one little hole, you may have a whole tunnel system from those carpenter bees. And then, of course, woodpeckers come along and they can sense those in there and they'll peck them out. So the idea with the citronella oil is mainly to stop that insect infestation. Number two is it's going to help with mosquitoes. And number three, probably my favorite thing, is citronella oil is probably the most potent and powerful antifungal, basically a natural mildewicide. It is one of the most powerful ones on the planet. That's fantastic. It's really going to help to stop mold growth, mildew, and organic growth on our fencing or decking that we put it on. So, man, it's like combo.
It really is. Like, you want to talk about like the Swiss Army knife of like insect repellent. Like, this stuff really kind of does everything. Well, not just insect repellent, but like I said, mold repellent as well. I'll tell you what we've been using it for. I've been mixing it with water and just spraying it all over, like all around the house. I sprayed it on the fence as well, but just like all around the lawn and everything. It does a tremendous job of that too.
Yeah, it helps. It does help.
So, and what I like, you guys have obviously put thought into this, because one of these containers goes in a 5-gallon of stain or water, 1-to-1. I mean, one container of this into one container of stain or 5-gallon thing of water. Very good.
You know, some of I've heard it is said that some of our competitors have claimed that this is a gimmick, or this is something that you have to have like a professional license to spray. This isn't. This is just an additive to stain, and it is backed by science. It's proven. I wouldn't say that it's a gimmick. I would say it's definitely a valuable, definitely value add to any stain job that you're doing. So we like it, and it works. And you don't have to have a license to put this in your stain and put it on there. That's just absurd.
Well, no, I mean, it smells. So we have citronella candles too. We've got mosquitoes really bad around the house. So we'll use citronella candles, and it's got a stronger smell than citronella candles, but we buy that stuff at Walmart. Yeah. You know what I mean? And just put it in the can. So I don't know how this would be any different than.
Yeah, another thing we're experimenting with is we make samples. So we've got a little bag that's a citronella oil sample. We've got a little sliver of wood. It goes in there, and that thing, smells like a citronella tree. And you obviously you can show that to your customer for a sample, so they get the idea. But you can hang those up. You can put it in your car on your rearview mirror. You can put it on the back porch, and it's basically a wick, and so that would work too.
Fantastic. I like that a lot.
Yeah, man, it's a cool thing. We like it.
I wanted to talk about it just because we've been in this room now for the last hour and a half or so, and it's still a pretty strong smell. It's definitely potent for sure. But how are things elsewise at Expert Professional Wood Care Products?
Life is good. We're growing. We're having a great time. Team's growing. New facility is underway, and
Fantastic.
So everything is exciting. And I don't know, man. If I was any better, I'd get arrested probably. So,
you want to talk about the new facility, or you want to talk about that later?
Yeah, we can talk about it. There's not much to tell other than we've got a 10-acre property. It's commercial. It's got about 6,000 square feet of space on it, and we're breaking ground hopefully very soon on another 10,000 square feet. So we're going to go from not enough room to a little more room than what we currently need, and with room for expansion. So it's a dream come true of mine, and I'm excited about it.
Fantastic. I'm excited too. We had talked about it in the past. Well, we had talked about it because we were looking for a facility for this wire weaving right around the time that you were too. And there's something special about finding that next spot. Looking around, trying to envision the possibility. You're trying to imagine what would go where, and it's a neat feeling. It really is.
Yeah. So the last place we had, if you remember, we had another place that we had the right of first refusal on 3 additional properties for a total of an additional 45,000 square feet. So that was super exciting to know that there were opportunities to grow.
Yeah.
Something happened with the city and with codes and zoning, and they basically said, we will not renew the letter of the certificate of occupancy on these additional buildings. So we backed out of that deal because, with the one building alone wasn't enough. So we were going to need all of them. And so having a place now it's actually 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes away from our family farm, wherever we live,
Fantastic.
And there's room to build 1 million square feet there. So it's just thank you, Lord. We can use that one. That's a good one.
Yeah. It's basically unlimited growth potential.
Yeah. So it's great for us. And of course, a lot of you guys know we choose to be outside of Nashville. We could go to Nashville and probably raise our prices, have a lot more talent to choose from in the workforce. We could get a lot more business, but we kind of like being out in the country. So that's kind of a sacrifice that we decided to make. And to be able to find a commercial property right down the street was 1 in a million for us. So worked out well.
I always like visiting you guys because that drive is really it's a calming drive. Because Nashville can be a pretty high energy place. It's a lot. So it's nice taking that drive to you guys. It's just long enough to get things calmed down. I think it's a great choice. Like I said, I really like the area you guys are in.
We do too, man. We do too. We love it.
Roger's got a question for you. Are you in charge of R&D at the company?
So that would be, I am kind of like the chief visionary officer. So originally, yes, but now we've got a great chemist that really works hand in hand with me, and I kind of push some crazy ideas, and they see what they can do with it. So yes and no. Everything we do when it comes to R&D, though, and of course every stain batch that gets made, I check off on it. I look at it, I examine it, I make sure things are right. So yeah, I don't do all of the R&D. I know we developed a green stain yesterday, and I got photos of it. We're doing a custom mix for someone, and our operations handled that entirely. So it just depends on the project. But before we release a product or something like that, yeah, for sure, I'm all in. You can't keep me out of that. I'm excited about those things.
That's the fun part. That's one of the really fun parts is creating new.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I think the thing that really makes me maybe dangerous is the fact that I come from, if you have a chemist who's trained in classical chemistry, they're not going to have the perspective that I have. They're almost going to have blinders on. And so I tend, and someone without training like myself would tend to ask questions that maybe a chemist would not ask. So I think that that's been a good thing for us, is to have those both perspectives.
Well, there's probably assumptions made, just based on, like you said, based on that training. It goes along the lines of, is that saying the most dangerous phrase in the business is because that, that's the way it's always been.
Well, when I first developed our stain and it was working for me and I was having good luck with it, and I was working with a chemist, and I was a little self-conscious because a lot of people said you can't make a stain without solvents in it. And this was all what our competitors were saying. If the stain doesn't stink, then it's not a good stain. And so I was fighting with that inner self-talk a little bit, like, what if this is wrong? And I met a chemist one day and I was talking to him, and he said, why do you think they make formulas with all these solvents in them? And I said, well, solvent's a lot cheaper than oil. And he said, okay, bingo. All right, there's your answer.
That's the answer.
And I was like, and that guy was seasoned. I mean, he'd been working on wood coating formulations for like 30 something years. And he said, you're doing right. He said, quit worrying about it. It's okay. And so that was good for me to hear that from a guy that had been there and done that. So far, so good, man.
I like it. I like it a lot. Jonathan says, I'm in the process of searching for a permanent location. It's a stressful, long process. So congratulations on finding one.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. You'll find yours too. You just got to know it. You don't have to worry about how you're going to do it. Just know you're going to do it.
It's going to happen. And that's exactly right. It's going to happen. And it seems like the more you try to force it, the more it evades you.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more you just try to push it. For us, I'll tell you our story. So I was looking for a place. We didn't have enough room for this wire weaving machine. It was not here. We filled up every nook and cranny of this place. And so we started looking, and I went and visited Brenton Manufacturing up in Wyoming, and we're looking. I was like, I really need 6,000 to 10,000 square foot. Like that's really a good size to put for future growth. You can put one machine in 3,000 or 4,000 square foot, but you're going to have to move the minute you decide you want two machines. So I started looking around, and it seemed like everything out here that was available was either 2,000 or 3,000 square foot, or it was 80,000 square feet. Like it's out in the industrial center type thing. And I kept forcing it. I kept I drove all over town, looking at for lease signs, looking everything up, and just wasn't right. And then finally I put a post up on Facebook. I was just so frustrated. I was like, hey, I think I was just basically just saying, like, how is it in a city like ours, there is no commercial space that fits this bill? It seems like this would be a 6,000 to 10,000 square foot with 2 offices and a restroom. It seems like that would be an ideal place for a lot of businesses to transition. Like it felt like a good transition size. Well, a girl I had taken to her prom and they became family friends. She responded. She's like, hey, my dad actually has a place. It's not listed, but the tenants he has now are wanting to move, but they can't move until they find someone to sign a new lease. And one thing led to another, and that's exactly where we're moving into. And yeah, I don't know. Like I say, the more you try to force it, in this situation, I could have driven all over town for a year and probably never found this place. It was just a word of mouth. So Jonathan, that would probably be my biggest piece of advice, would probably just be tell everyone you meet what you're looking for, no matter who it is.
Both property. Actually, every single home and commercial property I've ever owned were not listed. And it all came through word of mouth and talking to people. Yep.
That's powerful. It really is.
If you're in a developed area, a city, usually you've got your local economic development board. Yep. In the county we're in, unfortunately, we're right on the county line, and we're not going to be in Smith County. We're going to be in a different county, but in Smith County, they're paying up to $1 million in site prep grant money, just site prep. So bringing in electricity, doing grade work, blasting, digging, whatever, building your entire pad for your building. They'll pay up to $1 million for that in a county.
No kidding.
There's, and then equipment. So the TVA, or or the state of Tennessee will pay for certain equipment purchases. They'll pay for certain employees. So we've never taken any of that money, but they've approached us and talked to us about it. And there may come a time that we do take some of those incentives. But I certainly would have took the site prep money, because I'm going to have to do a ton of site prep for this building. And site, because you're bringing jobs to the county, and they've got grant money from the federal government. So yeah, we'll give site prep money out to build the pad that your building goes on. So I wouldn't get too caught up in the we can't find a building. So you've got those things, and then also everybody knows there's this one guy in every town knows everybody and who has 100 commercial buildings. So if you can find that guy, he might point you in the right direction. And I would also, the mistake that I made along the way was I always bought too small.
Yep.
And so I would move into a place, spend a year fixing it up. As soon as I got it fixed up, I'm pretty much outgrown it.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be wise, if you're in a growth company, to always get more than you think you need, maybe 4 times or 5 times more than you think you need.
I agree.
And a lot of times you can get the big places cheap because nobody needs a big place.
Well, that's the thing, is on a per square foot basis, those 80,000 square foot places were cheap on per square foot basis, So here locally, it's about $6.50 to $7 a square foot to lease, for leasing, not for purchase. Those places, 80,000 square foot, were like $4.50, maybe $5 for like a really nice place. So on a per square foot basis, now multiplied out by 80,000, your number starts growing pretty quickly. So, take that for what it's worth. But
but you can also sublease a lot of these places if you're like me and optimistic. You never know when you can sublease, especially if you've got a good network of friends that like you could call me and say, hey, I've got an extra 20,000 square feet. You want to stock some stain there or something? Or Joe, hey, we'll hold 2 truckloads of wire here for a certain amount. And that might help somebody. So,
no, that's absolutely right. Well, and if you're in a city like ours, to where it would take one Facebook post too to say, hey, who do you know that's looking for space? In your example, I've got 20,000 square foot. I'm looking to sublease. Who could use it? And it's just a powerful, the power of word of mouth.
There's so many people needing space right now, so it's open. Another thing is you could buy these places a lot of times cheaper than you think.
Yeah.
Commercial work.
I was just gonna say, I looked at a place that we were kind of headed down that road of purchasing it. The problem was it was about a half hour. It was probably 40-minute drive from where we're at now, from my office here. Like, I don't want to make an hour and a half round trip drive, so we ended up not. But that was the goal. Is it was a multi-building property. We're going to buy the whole thing, and they already had one building leased out. They're selling it with the lease intact. And if I could fill the second building, it would have paid the note. My building would have been free at that point. I mean,
and then you'd be making money on the appreciation of it. So commercial real estate, I've been told that it swings wildly, because you'll notice in a certain economies, you'll see 80 or 1 million square foot buildings sitting empty for 5 years, and then it'll sell for $200,000. And then 3 years later, the economy's at its peak, and that building's a $20 million building, and then it'll take a dive. So if you play your commercial cards right on commercial real estate, you sometimes can find a really, really good deal. If you just go into the deal knowing that, hey, this thing's going to go up, it's going to go down, but over the next 40 years, this thing's going to take care of our family. So that's what we're looking for, man. We're looking to get, stuff like that. A lot of millionaires are made when they retire from their business, and they're 65 years old and they own the land or the building that their business was in, and that is their retirement. So
we're building up to that. So I've got a partner in some real estate investing where we'll buy properties, fix them up, and then we'll rent them long term, or we'll hold them long term to rent. We just bought another property, went under contract on it Thursday with that whole intention. Like, listen, we're not trying. So if you're looking at it from a I need to make money today perspective, the housing prices right now just don't support that. Like, you will not make money right now. But to your point, if you're looking for I want this to be worth a lot more 40 years from now, okay, now that is a thing. Like, I mean, nothing in life is guaranteed, but this property 30 years from now will appreciate significantly.
Well, just the monthly income off of it will pay if you own 80,000 square feet, what's that going to pay a month when you're 60 years old or 70 years old? It's probably, what's probably, let's just say 30, 40 years from now, what, $7 a square foot for 80,000 square feet probably wouldn't be unheard of. What's that work out to a year?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like right now it's $5. So, 400,000 a year, but so say the economy gets rip roaring again and you can bump that to $6 a square foot. Well, now all of a sudden you're into some real money. If 400,000 a year was your break even, and it's probably not, your break even is much lower than that. But
I think it's so triple net lease. I think 30 years from now the building's paid for.
Yeah.
So you got no money. So if you do a triple net, then your tenant's responsible for taxes, maintenance, and everything like that. So that's $500,000 a year in your pocket that your family builds wealth with. So that's pretty incredible.
Really, the only expense you have is vacancy. Triple net, they take care of all the other expenses. But you have to get to a point, to afford that building. 80,000 square foot is going to be a couple $1 million. So several $1 million probably. But you're right. I mean, at that point, as long as you're not trying to make money today, it will make money eventually. And really, for us in the real estate, I don't want it to make money right now. I want to break even or get as close to breaking even as possible, because you pay tax on profits, right? Like we're not this business. That business is not to make money. It is simply to acquire assets. It's to acquire property, land, whatever. But anyway.
That's fun, man. There's some really smart guys in that space. I love sitting around and just listening to them talk.
Yeah. Well, look at the wealthiest families in America. I mean, that are public or whatever that people know about. It's land. It's wealth through owning land or property, however you want to say it. I mean, they're not making more of it. So it's that's
in Saudi Arabia, I think they actually are, though.
Well, that is some fancy stuff. They are making land out of the ocean. So that's we got to figure out how to make more land here in the Midwest. I don't think that'll work here, but we might fill in a lake or two. But Ashley Ross says they are watching with Pawpaw.
Oh, wow.
Hot dog.
Hello.
Hey, Roger's got a question. I'm not sure I follow. Okay, I have placed copper like wire or pieces of pipe in vinegar, and it creates a beautiful teal color. Your thoughts on vinegar on wood?
When you put a metal in an acid, you can create a chemical that will make a chemical reaction in wood and change the color. So if you put steel wool or some type of iron particle in an acid that put that on wood, it would change it. And the copper thing would probably do the same. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so vinegar on wood, but I mean, vinegar on wood itself wouldn't really have much of a reaction though, right?
No, you're going to have a metal in there with it.
Yeah. Now, so like a pressure treated wood though, maybe.
So like a copper dust and an acid might make a pretty good reactive type of a thing.
Interesting. Well, Roger, you might be on to your next $1 million idea.
Yeah, a lot of hardwood flooring now that you see the grays and the light grays and those colors, all of those are reactive stains. So instead of a gray pigmented stain, it's actually just an iron sulfate and acid reaction that they're doing. So they can just make the wood react any color they want without actually putting pigments on there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Pretty interesting.
It is. To a fence guy, it's very interesting. Like how you can make wood or natural products in general do something that they don't really want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least accelerate that. So Jonathan's saying, nailed on the head, everything that pops up is ridiculously large or too small. I'm lucky and still have 18 months on a current lease, so I'm in the proactive instead of reactive phase, which you're in the driver's seat then, for sure. Where you want to be. So that's the thing is like right now. So I talked to my partner and when is the right time? So when you on the subject of talking about people that build wealth through property and real estate, at some point they transition from residential to commercial, mainly because of the triple net benefits. I mean, you can't have a triple net residential lease. Those aren't really a thing. Triple net meaning they pay for the property, they pay for the taxes, they pay for the upkeep. They assume all of the costs for this building. They pay for it all. So there's really not cost to the owner. Whereas on residential, we pay the property tax, we pay maintenance and upkeep, meaning that if the roof leaks, we got to pay to fix it. If a water heater breaks, we pay to fix it, that sort of thing. So we're currently talking about like, what does that transition look like? And understand commercial real estate would include multifamily that's 5 or more doors in the same building. So a fourplex would not qualify. It's technically a residential property. But if you had a small apartment that had 5 units under the same roof, now that's a commercial property.
Joe,
So,
if you have a portfolio of 4 quadplexes, is that considered multifamily if it's in a portfolio?
for lending, it can be. Yes, for lending purposes, and it's probably going to depend on the financial institution, but if they look the same, if they like the footprint's the same, if they're in the same market, they all look the same, they can be grouped together for commercial lending. Yeah. Is my understanding. I understand I'm not a banker. This is not financial advice.
So you're talking about you personally or your team there making the transition, when to make the transition from residential to commercial. I can give you what I've been told. Very why good. People do it. So I'm in a group of guys, a forum group of guys, and a lot of them are smart, and they do a lot of real estate stuff. And what I've been told is when people generally get older and towards retirement age, they will go to commercial. Commercial is more risky to the young person. It's generally lower profit. Yeah. When it's triple net, it's more safe. It's more of a safe long-term thing. It can swing wildly as the economy goes up and down, but generally the ideal goal is to get like a Tractor Supply to sign on a 30-year triple net lease on your building at 6% of whatever the cash flow is, 6% of the value of the building, something like that. And it's a lower percentage, but it's safe. Kmart's going to be here forever. Well, you know what happens to some Kmart's, but if you get a Walmart, for example, the town I live in, this family bought the land. Surprisingly, how a political family found out that the interstate was going to do an exit there and build things up, because they bought all the farmland like a month before they announced the what was going to happen, and bought it up for pennies on the dollar. And then it's funny how those things happen. Yeah. But that family owns the land that Home Depot sits on, and they have a 100-year lease on the land. So Home Depot built their building on this family's land, and it is a $1 million per year lease for the land that the building sits on. Jeez. It's a pretty good deal there. I wouldn't have
not bad
gotten one of those for myself. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I think multifamily is good. I mean, I'm excited about all of it. I've heard that the banks are going to own all the houses here in the next 50 years. So it's kind of looking like it might be that way.
Institutional investors are massive. So luckily in our market, so we were talking to when we were looking at these houses on Thursday, we're talking to the agent about institutional investing, and her perspective was, in our market, she said less than 9% of the properties are owned by institutional investors. Most are just individual or teams like mine, but they're not they're not funds that go and buy this stuff, right? But she said when you look at a bigger market, such as like, a Dallas or Chicago or New York, it's 30 to 40%. So, because that was kind of one of the things we're talking about, though, is like, listen, are we up against institutional money when we're making these offers, or what's the market look like here? And her point was, no, not yet, but I mean, give it time. They'll show up once they start consuming, houses there. And here's the dangerous thing about institutional investors is their long-term looks like 60, 70 years. They don't hold for short amounts of time. So if they buy a house, then it's gone. It's off the market. I mean, for all intents and purposes, forever. I won't see it again in my lifetime.
And they buy property based on what it's worth in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. So they can pay they can pay 40% over and never blink an eye. So,
Yep.
because the return that they'll get on it is better than what they can get just sitting there. So,
yeah. Well, and we had to make all cash offers because they don't right now on investment properties. They don't want to worry about lending because interest rates are what they are. They don't want someone to get into it, then get cold feet because it's going to cost more than they thought to own this property or whatever. So it had to be an all cash offer, which in institutional investing, that's all they do. They're like, we have millions of dollars that we are compelled to put into the market somewhere. So yeah.
Do you think that this Airbnb bubble will burst? Do you think something like that will happen?
I think so. So you're starting to hear more and more horror stories about this. So understand we live in we're the third largest city in Missouri, but like 250,000 in the metro area or something like that, 300,000, fairly small area. I was talking to a guy that's got Airbnb properties. I don't want to get too graphic on the channel. So they had people come in, release it for a month, Airbnb. They had, so basically what they did was they turned the garage into a dogfighting arena, with just like plastic up and all this sort of stuff. And then they ended up, they found a bunch of stuff out buried that was not great. And so he was like, never again. No, not ever am I doing this. They had to do a lot of replacement work in the house because they were also having parties and they're also doing this. And Airbnb, has a certain amount of coverage for people like that. But then at some point they said, hey, turn it into your insurance. This is an insurance event. This is not an Airbnb event. So, so you're starting to hear kind of more. So either it's going to bust or they're going to make it really difficult to rent someplace like that. And some of that makes sense though, right? So when we went on vacation a few weeks ago to Florida, we rented a house from Airbnb. And when I was thinking about it, they didn't do much research on me at all. Like, can you pay the deposit? And then 30 days before, can you pay the remainder? And they didn't even ask about insurance or anything. They didn't know who I was, going into this. And I don't know, like that. I think there's a lot of risk there that people don't realize until they do get bit by it. I think same thing with Turo. Turo is going to have the same problems, I think.
Well, and Airbnb used to be really awesome because the prices were great. You could go in and for a reasonable price, you get a house. Now, our Airbnb experience today, this year, is probably 50 to 100% worse than it used to be because used to everything was super nice. Things were fixed up. The hot tub always worked. Now if you Airbnb something, the hot tub's probably green or not even turned on, even though they advertised a hot tub was there.
Yeah.
Things don't work. The water, there's no hot water, just no air conditioning, just crazy things because it's such a wild and crazy market, they don't have to. It's kind of like if you don't take it, somebody else will.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. The house we stayed in down in Florida, it was owned by, so just knowing like what I know through through owning real estate, I know how to find the owners, right? So we just went on the county assessor's website. I just did a quick address search. Bam. It's an investment company. It's something investments. And then it's managed by a property manager who then listed it on Airbnb. And what's interesting is at the end of that, now the property manager did a great job communicating. I didn't have a problem with the property, but then at the end, they sent an email like, hey, for your next stay, reach out to us directly because you likely paid, they tack on the Airbnb fee on top of whatever they would have rented it for. So to your point, you're not finding deals anymore. If anything, it costs more to go through Airbnb and here's a fun fact, Airbnb and VRBO are owned by the same management company, like the same holding company. So same, right?
We stayed, the one that really got me was we stayed in Beach Mountain last year or early this year, maybe it was last year. And it was $500 or $600 a night. And they had this thing, they made it look humongous and beautiful. We get there and this thing's like 250 square feet. The grill didn't work. The hot tub didn't, had like squirrels living in it. It was just horrible. And it was okay. But the fact that they made it look like it was something it wasn't. And it's hey, it's $600 a night. It's too bad. I just
And
thought,
probably fake reviews and everything.
Yeah, I thought, I would have stayed here no problem because we're in the mountains. It's great, but the customer service and that customer experience of setting the tone for something spectacular and it being just something, very basic I thought that's not good. I don't like that.
No.
I think that's going to give all Airbnb a bad name because I think you're going to see more of that.
Yeah, because you still do find good properties every now and then, but I'll tell you. So when we were down in New Orleans, I went through Airbnb and I found this like a condo and all that. Well, come to find out, a hotel owned it. It was like a boutique hotel, more or less, that they rented out exclusively on Airbnb. Like it had like a front desk attendant. They had it was a boutique hotel that they say it was like it was a weird scenario. So it's getting kind of wild.
Joe, if we had 50 Airbnbs, we probably wouldn't be talking about it like this, would we?
Fair. Well, that's the thing is, so my partner in the real estate, he went with us on this vacation. And so we're sitting in this house where the numbers work. This property sold. Now, I don't want to make it sound like it's not a nice place. It was a nice place, but it had recently sold for $2.29 million. And it was a 6-bed, 5-bath house. It was a good sized place, but here locally, it's a $450,000, maybe a $500,000 house. But then when you look at what it rented for per night, you're like, okay, well, anyway.
It's kind of like what happens to farmland. So at some point, farmland, in order for you to buy a property and run cattle on it, or, if let's say you buy 100 acres and you can run, 60 cows on it. Well, those 60 cows only produce so much income. But really for a farmer, he has to be able to cover the note of the land or, pay for it and make sense of it. You can't go buy, 100 acres for $15 million and then expect to just run 70 or 60 cows on it and make any money. And same thing with Airbnb. It'll go to where now a single family home that used to Mr. America could buy and move his family there. Well, now he can't afford it because, on Airbnb, it'll bring $1,000 a weekend. So this $400,000, middle America home is now a $2 million home. And it twists the market up so much. It's crazy. Well,
and that's the thing is, there's also, so these big funds can also, I don't want to say manipulate. That's kind of an aggressive word, but they can influence the market too by saying, hey, we own 100 houses in this market and we're going to raise rent from $950 a month to $1,000 a month. Well, now all of a sudden they own that many houses in that market. The whole rest of the market comes up to it too. They do the same thing with prices. Yeah. Now their portfolio just gained an extra 0 in value. So that's the benefit of this commercial investing is when you talk about in terms of like apartments, is because now they're appraised based on rents, not on actual property value. Mm-hmm. So if you've got 5 or more units in one building, or to your point, if you've got 3 buildings that are 4plexes, but they're all identical, and you raise rents from $950 to $1,000, now that reassesses the appraisal of that building, the value of that building. Yeah, the rent sets the price. Yep. So a lot of guys that get into real estate, they'll go buy an apartment complex that is lacking amenities, doesn't have a pool, doesn't have a gym, doesn't have a movie theater or anything like that. And they'll find a place and they'll just build a clubhouse. It'll have a pool, it'll have a gym, it'll have a movie theater, maybe not a spa, but like a I don't know what. Laundromat, you name it. They'll have amenities. And so then they'll go and they'll say, okay, well now because these amenities are in place, now the rent's going to go from $900 to $1,500 a month. And once they sign on more than 50% of the leases to that new amount, they can go back to the bank and say, hey, it's a 100-unit complex. We raised rent by X amount of dollars per month, which is X a year. And the bank will say, okay, well, we'll reassess the value and we'll loan a new amount on it. And so then they just cash out that additional value. It's a wild world. So people can understand that. Let's say you spend $1 million down payment, you get a $3 million complex. You raise the rate
First of all, you're going to get a 10% cash on cash return. So you're going to get $100,000 a year easily out of that, probably more.
Yep.
But that's the minimum an investor is going to get probably. But when you raise the rent and that property is reassessed, so now it's an $8 million property, they will refinance and they will pull out that additional $5 million. That loan money is tax free, so you can pull out $5 million without paying taxes on it, and then they go buy something else. And that's what these people are doing, because you're taxed on income. You're not taxed on finance money. So that's what these guys are doing. They play the game, and it's pretty wild to watch them do it.
Yeah, and that's how you grow quickly. That's how you snowball this thing. Is so then you go buy a second one, rinse, wash, and repeat, and then all of a sudden you've got 3 or 4 of these, each paying $100,000.
That's what Grant Cardone did. You guys watched him do it. That's how he's going to be in $1 billion in real estate, because he just kept turning and turning and turning the money over, and there it is.
Now he's got some pretty big partners. I was watching it. Well, where I get all my good content is on TikTok. He had A-Rod Rodriguez as his partner, and Rodriguez is saying, over the last 4 years I've invested $10 million in this and that and the other. Cordone's portfolio has to be it's
over $1 billion now.
Oh yeah, if he's got one guy at 10 million, and listen, A-Rod's a big client, I'm sure, but he's probably got people bigger than that aren't willing to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It is wild. It makes me as a fence guy go, that is intense to think about the amount of zeros that are involved in his transactions. But,
well, they say it takes the same amount of time to do $1 billion deal as it does to do a $5,000 deal. So,
yep, they all close in the same amount of time.
Yeah, it's crazy. What an interesting fence talk this morning.
Right. Fellow Joe said he had to go get some work done, so I got to go. He's probably already made this comment a little bit ago. So, Joe, we'll miss you. But catch a replay on YouTube. Great reminder, if you're listening on the podcast, that you can watch this replay live, or not live, recorded live on YouTube at youtube.com/Joe Everest. Later, guys. That's what he said. Roger agrees. Real estate is the oldest and biggest wealth builder. Nick Madison's with us. What's up, Nick? Amazing show, guys. Thank you, Nick. Truth Seeker says the Rockefellers have so much land in Manhattan they could just donate the land where the United Nations is located. I'm sure that deal came with some perks, though. Interesting.
Probably
I mean, everyone knows the Rockefellers.
Diplomatic immunity, probably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Roger says, just a reminder, more people are watching than likes. Good reminder, Roger. If you're watching this, we could always use a like or a love or whatever your feedback would be. Project Metal Music is with us from across the pond. Says, sorry I'm late. You're never late. You're always here. No problem at all. Justin's here. Says, oh man, what an amazing combination. Justin, you're too kind. And then, Justin, were you saying good morning to yourself? Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Good morning, Justin. Kenny Dugan says, Roger, get to Springfield and let's talk science. Last week, I had a conversation on minerals and how they react with the tannins and what chemicals are used to remove and how they do it. I mean it when I say Kenny is the mad scientist of just cleaning chemicals in general. And I say that in the nicest way. Mad scientist maybe has a negative connotation with it, but he is the guy. Omaha market is 20-25% in we're talking about, what are we talking about? We're talking about investment, like institutional investing. That's wild. Roger says he's trying to get to the event. He's trying to get out of a hole and get a business going. Not that we can't talk science. Absolutely. Caleb, you want to talk a little bit? I know we haven't firmed anything up, so this is still just like tentative talk. But when we're talking about Staining University event, we're starting to have a conversation about what a scholarship would look like, or something to that effect.
Well, Joe, I think you've put up a stain track machine that we're going to raffle off and make some scholarship money out of that. Yeah. My goal is to raise a ton of money with a raffle for that stain track machine, because it will help somebody in their business, and then pay for some folks to come. I think that would be good. And I think maybe people's choice can decide who needs to come.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I think we should do that. Planning on
I
doing
think
it.
So. I am, as soon as this idea you had suggested it, as soon as it came up, I was like, I love this so much. It furthers the mission of bringing in people who wouldn't otherwise be there, right? Which is, I talked about before you came on, which is the reason why we do it for free. We want it to be accessible to everyone. We want no barrier of entry, but one barrier could be the travel and lodging expense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be, sponsoring the lodging or sponsoring the travel or whatever the sponsorship looks like. When you look at scholarships to college, some are full ride, but some of them are partial, some of them. And so we might look at a program like that where we've got one full ride, which is room and board and travel. And we've got a few, partial scholarships, which is room and board, but you're responsible for the travel, something like that. I'm excited about it.
Yep, I am too. It's going to be a good thing. It's going to be huge.
I agree. Now we're limiting it to, so the classroom we've got will seat 60 if everyone fills a chair. So I had announced that we're limiting it to 50, knowing that we'll have speakers there who will be bringing guests and that sort of thing. So the first 50 people to sign up, get in, and we've got the link in the description below. So
beautiful.
And it's already filling up. Ashley had shared the sign up list with me. It's filling up pretty quickly. I'm excited about it.
Well, Kenny, if you're listening, I think we certainly, because we've seen this pop up a few times this last year, we got to take a serious look in the industry at reactive things happening with different cleaning chemicals and different products. We've seen some weird things, and I don't know if it's treatment or what, but we've seen some reactions where wood's turning colors on some people, and it's very difficult to recreate sometimes, and sometimes very easy to recreate. Sometimes very easy to remove, sometimes not. We see this with lawn care too. The guys that do the fertilizing of the yards.
Yep.
They've got things that they'll spray in the yard, and sometimes it gets on a fence and leaves these gray or green or brown stains or black stains all over the bottom of the fence. And there's a way to remove it, and there's a way to not remove it. And so I think minerals and reactivity in wood care is our industry's ready for that talk.
That would probably be a good session to have at the training event.
100%. That's what I'm saying. I think Kenny, we've been working on it. Kenny's been working on it. So I think we need to have a conversation ahead of time and talk about how we can really do that.
We need to connect Kenny with Trudy.
Yeah.
Just like the research she was doing with paint, like that was wild to hear, like what she had found. And I don't want to steal Trudy's thunder, but basically she's done a massive So Trudy's in the like power washing community, cleaning, like exterior cleaning community. And what they're seeing is cleaning chemicals that are reacting with paint, with the exterior paint. And
per the manufacturer's recommendations.
Correct.
Reacting. Yeah.
Following all the correct steps, but then the exterior cleaners are getting blamed for it. They're getting accused of not cleaning it correctly or cleaning it with the incorrect proportions of chemicals, whatever. And it's turning people's houses like different colors. Like it's
blue. Yeah. It's blues and purples and greens. It's anything with blues and purples and greens, and it's organic pigments. So it's a weird deal, and something to be aware of.
And it's something you wouldn't think about either. So part of her findings are that, they're using interior pigments for exterior stains and things like that. And anyway, she's done a massive amount of research. So it'd be interesting to have those two in the same room having this chemistry conversation.
Certainly.
So, Guinea, make plans to discuss, because it's something that we do see here. And you hit the nail on the head, Caleb, when you're talking about fertilization. So we get calls like that from time to time where a chemical applicator had come by and sprayed the fence, and now all of a sudden they've got swaths of green on the fence, or some version of green or brown, like a rust colored brown. And it's just the chemicals in the fertilizers coming in contact with the wood and what's in the wood, sort of thing. It's something that sane folks are going to see a lot.
Yeah, and if we can document it and do case studies and then show this, it can, maybe we can help the lawn care industry to stop messing up, and then also help ourselves to fix it in the circumstance. And,
yeah. Well, that's the thing is, like, these guys, the chemical applicators don't go into it wanting to cause damage, right? They don't do it on purpose. It wasn't that color when they left. Likely, they likely applied it and went on, and then
the next day,
it showed up as a problem the next day, and then they're saying, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's something on the fence or it's something this and that. Well, yes and no, but it wasn't a problem before the chemical got applied to the fence. But they don't want to do it, right? So to your point, like, I think we can all help each other say, all right, here's what to, if you're applying chemical, it would be good to keep this neutralizer on the vehicle so that if you do get some on fence, here's how you neutralize it right away to head this off before it even gets moving. Or if you get the call a day or two later, here's how you do your best to remove it, that sort of thing.
You got it. That's exactly right.
I think it'd be huge.
Well, it's a problem that could cost somebody their business. So
absolutely.
It's something that we need to figure it out.
Yeah, if they're not insured properly and then they get sued for, causing some major damage, then it could absolutely cost them their business, but also it could bankrupt them. It could cost them everything they've got.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these houses, like talking about what Trudy was getting into, like repainting one of these like some of these really high-end houses is 5 figures. Like, it is no joke. Justin says he's in on helping with scholarships. Justin with All Things New. We're actually also having an interesting conversation with Justin on feeding armed forces. Justin is leading the charge on. It started off there in Nebraska where he's from, but I think it's quickly growing, and it's fun. It's fun to watch that grow. Trying to feed armed forces holiday meals that they might not otherwise have.
Yeah, turkeys, feeding a lot of turkeys, but Matt Warner said we ought to look at steaks.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with a good ribeye on Thanksgiving too. So
no,
it would. I think we were thinking too small. I think the amount of effort that we put into feeding Nebraska, we could also do the entire United States. There's people out there willing to help, and there's organizations I think willing to help. So if we could take that to where it's a nationwide thing, it may grow legs on its own. And we could do a lot more good with the same amount of work. So,
well, and also part of our conversations we've been having privately is talking about bringing more veterans into like the standing community and sponsoring some veterans to come to the event too. So Armed Forces is it holds a special place with us, I think, whether it's current or past. So anyway, I want to recognize Justin for the work he's putting in on this, on getting this ball rolling, and I'm excited to see where it takes us.
Yeah, why don't we have a phone call about this next week and get on the same page, get aligned, and then we can go shoot for the moon.
Yep, absolutely.
Matt Warner's in too, so that's good. He's a big help. Absolutely.
So Kenny says he's testing as we speak. Talking about testing the chemical interactions. That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't. I can only, like, I've got pictures in my mind of like Kenny's like set up at home, and I just see like beakers everywhere, and there's like this test and that test and the other test. Like, it's just like a massive laboratory of testing is the way I picture it.
Yeah, and Kenny does one thing wrong, and his beard goes like that.
He just walks out. Yeah, everything's like, man.
Whatever you do not mix these two together.
And in the typical Kenny fashion, he's like, well, we learned something new. Oh, man. I think it's beyond that. But, Justin says, yellow wood and oxalic sometimes causes gray spots.
There's got to be iron in with the ox or in the wood. It's got to be.
Yep.
He's right, but there's something there that was not there before. The acid can't do it alone.
Yeah, so maybe something in the treatment.
I'm thinking so. Yeah, that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, interesting. In Yellowwood, good to know.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
guys,
a heck of a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, because there's quite a bit of that out there.
Yeah, it is the industry standard way to clean it. So
Right. Well, and so this is kind of that same conversation that Trudy was having, guys cleaning with industry standard practices that are now seeing some pretty wild results. Well, and yeah, it's all coming around the same time, which is a little crazy.
I think what you're seeing is alternatives used in the marketplace due to pricing and shortages, and so things that may have never been used before, or testing. You don't have 10 years to test when you're completely out of this raw material and you have to source something else.
Yeah.
And so I think you're just seeing a lot of backlash from what's happened over the last 2 years with supply chain issues.
Well, I think that's how we got to that paint issue. Was they said, hey, these pigments, these exterior proof pigments, we don't have as many of them, but we got a bunch of these interior pigments. Well, listen, guys, pigment's pigment, right? Let's just put it in there and keep it moving.
a lot of your pigments that the big companies are using come from China, and we all know there's just not as many checks and balances on quality control over there as there is here. So you just don't know when there could be 0.002% iron shavings in this pigment that could cause exact issues we're seeing.
Interesting. Jonathan says his company's always looking for new great ways to give back. I'll see you both in November. See how we can contribute too. I love it. I think you're right, Caleb, in that like we were thinking, and we started out really small, but I think we can pretty quickly grow just the idea of giving back in general. I mean, I'm sure every industry is like this, but one thing I love about our industries is that you've got a lot of guys that are wanting to give back. You got a lot of guys that are wanting to try to give a helping hand up to the guy behind them. And I'm jacked about it. I think we could really do some cool things.
So I have an idea that may be a quick way to do this in an unorganized way is, I don't know if a GoFundMe is the way, but we could say it cost X amount of dollars to feed 100 families turkeys for Thanksgiving per state. If you could find a National Guard location that would spearhead the logistics and all of that, you could basically put together a fund or a page that just showed all 50 states. And here's the donation money each of the 50 states needs. And here's the American Turkey Federation or whatever that the money goes to. And they will deliver direct turkeys right to that entity locally that will divvy those out, which should be probably a military entity.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be a great way where everybody could see the needle moving on it. And you be tough to guarantee every turkey's delivered to the homes without having some people you can trust on the ground. But I think it's doable.
Well, and I think it's a win. It's a win all the way around, right? So it's a win for those that are receiving it. And it's a win for those that are helping to contribute. But it's also going to be a win for, the producer, right? Which, like, whether it's a turkey producer or a beef producer or whomever, you get one of these companies that has a national reach where, like, they could probably help with some of that infrastructure, saying, "Hey, we have distribution centers. We have, a handful throughout the United States where we could help drop some of these into those states for distribution." It'll be a win for everyone.
Yeah, a pallet in every state would be cool. I don't know how many turkeys fit on a pallet, but 100 pallets per state would be cool later, but we can start with one.
Yeah. I like this so much. And like I say, give credit where it's due. Justin, I want to say I talked to Justin about this maybe 2 years ago I think I saw a Facebook post. I think he made a post about it in the Standing University Facebook page. And I just reached out like, we're in. Like his ask was incredibly reasonable for what impact it was gonna have. So I was like, how can you not? And he had asked for folks in Nebraska. He's like, well, you're in Missouri. Like, you understand, like, this is going to families in Nebraska. Like, I don't care where it's going.
It's going to America.
That's right. It's going to an American family. So I'm in. It doesn't matter, Nebraska or wherever. It could be Alaska. It could be Kentucky. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So, like I said, Justin, give credit where it's due. This is a heck of an idea. Justin says, I'm communicating with National Guard Bureau in Washington, D.C. about this. Justin, Fantastic. So ball's already rolling there. I think that's right. I think that does feel like the right group to get involved in it because they've already got infrastructure. They already, and you want to talk about somebody with, process and procedures on how to distribute. I mean, that's one of the missions of National Guard is distribution, establishing distribution networks in times of crisis, but they can also do it in other times too. Richard says, Kenny Dugan, I will send an email to you. Is your company website? Contact us. A good email address. That probably didn't need to be read on the show, but there it is.
Operation Turkey Drop. Sounds good to me.
I like that so much.
We've got to name it. It's got to have a name. So
that's true. Oh, what else is going on at Standstill or Expert Professional Wood Care? What are you guys working on? You said you're developing a green stain, or you've developed a green stain?
Yeah, like a hunter green color for a pre-stain customer. So it's going to be interesting. We'll get some pictures. We've got a huge play set, one of these huge jungle gyms that's like 1 million square feet of wood or something crazy like that we were awarded one of those projects. That's really cool.
Nice.
Working on a big log cabin right now. It's going to be black. It's going to be awesome. Stanton Frank's coming down to help us with it.
Nice.
And so very modernistic cabin that's going on. That'll be pretty cool.
Fantastic.
And stain getting better every day, just with new labels and trying to put together things for contractors to be successful with it, literature that they need. And website expertwoodcare.com is coming along every day, building that in-house. So that's
Caleb, let's talk about the website really quick, because I saw the email and I've seen the post, but this would probably be just one more place to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are kind of switching how contractors buy online. Is that right?
Yeah. So first of all, you've got expertwoodcare.com, which is that is our brand, our stain brand's website. And on that website, you can find resources like colors, product information, where to buy, online retailers and brick and mortar retailers. So you're actually on the website listed, should be. That was part of the work for this week, is get everybody listed. But if you go to the online retailer section, you can find an online retailer. And one of those online retailers is the Stain and Seal Expert store. So anybody who uses our stain, they can start a store and sell it online if they want. But if you buy it from the Stain and Seal Expert store, promo codes are being discontinued on that website. And mainly because they're being passed around. The guy like Justin Menensis, who buys a ton of stain, should get a little better deal on it than the guy who buys one bucket for his deck at his house. It's just simple economics. We want to take care of those who support us the most, slightly more, right? They deserve to be taken care of. Yeah. So basically just built a customer or a contractor portal. So you go in and create an account, and then I think the 15th of next month, we're going to discontinue all the promo codes, just for ease of use. And then obviously you can sign into your account and all your pricing's right there. You don't have to do the math. You can actually see it. So that'll be a good thing, just to keep people's all their account information right there in front of them. So you can see everything you bought. You can see your pricing. You can make life easier on you.
Nice.
And if you call in,
codes
you
are
got an account. Yeah. The thing is, man, like these websites scour the internet for promo codes, and they'll publish your promo code, and it's not fair to our contractors. So there's that. And then also, of course, you can buy it Ozark Fence. You can buy it on yours. What is it? OZ.store. You can buy it at fencearmor.com. There's Stain Depot, Amazon. We're everywhere. And each company's got something a little different. But and Joe, if you want to do a contractor portal on your Shopify store, Martin is our developer, and he can help you with that.
That's I need to get connected on that, because we've had the same issue with promo codes. We currently have a contest running between the Fence Industry Podcast and My Fence Life, but right now their discount codes are some of the only ones. So we were issuing contractors their own discount codes. So, Expert Stain and Seal, we would issue a code Expert, right? And so they could do that. They could get their appropriate discount on all of their stuff. Well, what we saw someone random use one of the contractor codes, and it was a contractor that I knew. So like, who? And it was it was a contractor that was somewhat local here in Missouri, but the person that used the code was like in Oregon or something. Like, that's bizarre. Let me reach out and see. So I called him and I said, we're going to get your order out. Just want to confirm a few things with you. And I was like, hey, I saw that you used the such and such discount code. How are you affiliated with them? I said, oh, no, I just Googled OZ Fence discount code and I found it and it worked. Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Hey, that was a cheap lesson, Joe.
It was like, it kind of the conversation we had internally. It was like, well, okay, a sale's a sale, I guess. And, but yeah. So
there's a guy in Joe's office right now in shackles that created the promo code.
Right. We went and found whoever has this promo code website, and we're having conversations about the ethics.
Where did you get the code? Where did you get the code? That's funny.
But no, I would like to be connected on that because I like the idea too of being able to see so they can see their own history, because we'll get a lot of calls for that. Like, say, hey, can you look up my order can we duplicate the order from 3 months ago? And we can. I mean, we can go find the receipt and we can try to replicate that, but giving them their own portal seems like the right move.
Well,
too.
and if you use a PO number system or something like that, 2 years they call back and they say, hey, Mrs. Krumpenheimer called me and she wants to do, she built a new thing and she wants it to match. Do you remember what color we used? And we're like, you've bought 1,000 orders from us. How will we know? But if you could look up their customer name or something that might be beneficial.
Yep, job number. So we started asking for job names, and there are some very protective people out there. They were like, listen, I'm not telling you because I don't want anybody else knowing about this project. It's like, okay, so give me a job number then. Like, the name is not important to me. I just need something to identify to link this order with a project, like exactly like what you're saying. Or we'll work with contractors locally that have 3 different projects. And they'll call and they'll say, hey, that 5-foot project I was talking to you about, well, there's 2. The smaller one. Like, well, but is it? Like, are you sure? Anyway. But
yeah, just good record keeping.
Yep. I agree. All right. Roger says, always awesome show per usual. I got to get some grass cut. Well, Roger, go cut that grass. I'm glad that we're back into grass cutting season. We were pretty dry there for a while where grass was getting cut every couple of weeks rather than every week. Now it's like more than every week, it seems like.
Hey, I got a question for you, Joe. Are we gonna? Have you already released the Week in the Life of video for this week?
So we watched it earlier. Yeah,
I missed it. All right.
Yeah,
how's that going for you, man? Tell me about that.
It's going well.
Has it changed the culture there at your office?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys like to get involved with it. We really, Braden, do we have anyone that's uncomfortable being on it? I mean, I haven't seen that. Yeah, no, everyone enjoys being on it. So we have a few people that really like being on it. They like trying to create their own content for the show, which is fun to watch.
Hey, Braden, hope you're doing well. Hear you in the background. I said, hey, Braden, hope you're doing well. See you in the background there. I got a question. I got a hard question for Braden, though.
Oh, hey, come around.
When are we going to see a video made with all that self leveling of the stain?
That goes out. Well, I guess it already went out the one. But they didn't show too much of the leveling, did it?
No, we did the 5 mistakes people make.
Yeah,
and that showed a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Do we have one that showed the self?
We don't have one made, but we do have footage of it. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe put one.
You'll get 1 million views on that.
There you go.
Braden says, "All right, added that to my list for this week."
No, that is a good idea.
I would love to see the 5 mistakes video. Maybe you can send me a link of it.
Yeah, I can post it in.
Oh, that's not good. He just left.
I'm back.
He is. I was like, he's just so upset that he's out of here. He's like, if that self-leveling video isn't up, I'm out. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I can post it in the chat right now if you want.
Yeah. You want to link to the top 5? It was this week's video, so it went up Wednesday. Yeah.
I'm curious the comments you get over that.
It's well, we can talk about it real quick. So it's actually done really well. We were talking about that before before this about how well it's done. Let's see. All right. 5 biggest fence staining mistakes from, and then it cuts off, from a pro fence stainer is the title. Well, okay. Stevie Boy doesn't like the fact, I guess you used the word droven, maybe instead of driven. So he said Judge Judy would have pulled you up on that word, on the use of that word.
I'm not sure that it means what he thinks it means.
Let's see. Let me unclick. So so this is probably a good question or a good comment. If you know the water content of the wood, it will make all the difference. I pre-dry all my posts for jobs and then return the ones that warp as they dry. But for the planks, I don't have the space or time to do that. So the best thing I can advise is to get a moisture meter and give the homeowner a time frame when to start staining. And then it says this advice is spot on. I look for 15% or lower as a starting point. So, yeah. Interesting.
Well, good. I will watch that. Been wanting to see Braden's fine editing work there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, so Braden edits the week in the life.
I did edit the one with his family.
Oh, okay. So with there's an asterisk here. He did edit the one with you and Bam. But the other ones, there's a gentleman named Will that edits a lot of like the reactions and things like that. So Braden's mission is the week in the life, and then sometimes he takes on other projects.
Nice.
Here's a question for you that I thought was kind of unique. I just discovered your channel because I was looking for an answer to a fencing question. Can I use saltwater beach logs for fence posts? These logs are high and dry, sun bleached, but solid. What do you think?
Well, I'm not sure what a saltwater beach log is. Is this from a beech tree or is this a saltwater?
No, sorry.
beach?
So beach is spelled as like sand next to the ocean. Okay. So I'm guessing a log that has washed up from the ocean and then has sat and dried out, I guess.
For a post.
For can I use for a fence post? Yeah.
I would throw a post saver sleeve on it.
Right.
Just to be safe, but yeah, go for it.
Well, and that's what I said. Like, I don't see why not. They likely won't have the same lifespan as an actual fence post, but they'll probably look neat.
Well, and some species, might last forever. You never know.
Yeah.
Like boat arc or maybe cypress. Cypress is rot resistant.
Yeah. Here in the Midwest, we've got hedge, and if you got
hedge apple, I mean that's what we call boat arc down here where we are, and it's it'll ruin your chainsaw real quick.
It will last lifetimes. Let's see. Biggest mistake. So Lonnie says, biggest mistake I've seen is not knowing how to properly apply stain, not knowing how to use a spray brush or roller, and which is true with some stains. Right now, one thing I'd said about what's neat about using your guys' stain is part of the demonstration is really like doing some crazy stuff with it, letting it set, and then fixing it. So, not necessarily one of the mistakes when using your guys' product. And then Roger, oh man, I wish I read these while Roger was here. Roger said, biggest mistake people make is not watching Joe Everest or Caleb Roth. There's a gentleman named Christopher Dodson that said this was a great event in North Carolina. So he was there. And then Adrian had a comment, said the biggest mistake most people make is never treating the top of the fence. So I'm guessing in their area, maybe one of the issues people have is not hitting the top of the pickets, maybe.
That's why that end grain is so important.
Yep, absolutely. And then we put the notes in the YouTube comments for that video. I'll email it to you as well.
Yep, I'll go look. I will go find it.
But no, I think I had a good time. I had a lot of fun creating those videos with you at the North Carolina event. We say this all the time, Caleb, but like if I could just like win the lottery tomorrow and you and I could just pal around like forever, that would be fantastic.
Well,
I had such a good time.
I was we had this huge convention, a big power wash convention in Nashville, I guess last week, and all our team was there, and I got a phone call from Matt Warner, and he goes, "Hey, where you at?" And I go, I'm looking at a project, checking in on some guys. And he goes, well, I'm at this huge convention. So when are you going to be here? And I said, well, what a surprise. So got to hang out with Matt all week, and that was fun, or for a few days. And he came and saw the place. But yeah, it's fun to have friends and do this stuff. It makes it a lot more enjoyable.
So here's the part I like, is that you and I and Matt and Kenny, like we are all of the same mind, right? And we all have very similar thoughts on morals and ethics and things like that. I think that's what makes it really interesting to have conversations that, well, in North Carolina, you and I and Matt Warner and Braden all had an evening conversation. And I think the reason those conversations are so productive and beneficial is we're all kind of in the same headspace. And we all kind of have the same beliefs and understandings and things like that. I think that's probably also what makes it enjoyable, for sure.
It's nice. It's nice getting challenged.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And Matt does a good job of that, whether he means to or not. Joe and Caleb, very generous of you to be doing everything you've discussed. Stain Man, I'll reach out too. Kenny Dugan's inbox is getting ready to blow up. Dan Wheeler says, training my new stain guy has been super easy. He watches both of your guys' staining content on YouTube. Thank you. There you go. I'm excited to see what. So Dan has a guy that's basically going to run his staining division. I'm excited to see how that works out for him. The nice thing is, it with your guys' product, it's pretty hard to screw up. So the training is typically pretty easy. I mean, you want to do the common stuff. The masking makes it easy. There's a lot of stuff that you guys do to make it easier, like a lot of pre-work, but with other stains, it's like mandatory, right? Like, because if you get this stuff on the wrong thing, it'll etch it or it'll be permanent, or, with your guys, it's more like, hey, you should probably do this because it'll make it easier for you. Like, it'll just make cleanup a little bit easier. That's the one thing I like, is that because listen, people are human, right? Like, we employ humans here. So humans are going to make mistakes. They're going to skip a step, not on purpose, but inadvertently. And maybe some stain gets on some hardware, or maybe some stain gets on the fence sign, or maybe or on the concrete sidewalk that goes underneath the gate. Well, it's not the end of the world, right? Like, it's going to take a little bit extra work to clean that up and make it look nice, but don't freak out. You're not going to have to pour a new concrete sidewalk for these folks. It will clean out.
I love when we get painters in front of us and we ask the painter to say, how long would it take your best guy to mask off this gate hardware? And they'll go, maybe 30 minutes. And then I go, okay. And then just turn around and spray it. Just spray all over it. These guys, their eyes get big around, and then you just wipe it off and they go, that will save me a lot of time. Yeah.
Well, that happened at Kasurik at Caruso's event there in Philadelphia. Some painters were there, and you're like, hey, watch this. Da-da-da. And they're like, oh, what? What did you just do? And then they started trying it. I think you're right. Painters, I was watching, again, a TikTok with a painter. He's got a big channel, and he just rails on oil-based stain because he's like, true professionals shouldn't use it and this and that. And he's coming from the perspective of like how permanently it can damage things. I'm like, oh, we gotta get this guy on board. He's got his opinion is based on experience, but he just has the experience with the wrong product or with a different product.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's sponsored or anything, but that could have something to do with it too. If the people he's affiliated with don't have a product that does.
Yeah, I think he's a Sherwin guy. It seems like he doesn't say it, but TikTok is still it's still a little bit of the Wild West as far as like sponsored content goes. But he uses enough Sherwin stuff and he mentions them enough. I think that he's probably a Sherwin guy. Would be my guess. Caleb, we've done it again. We've gone past 2.5 hours. I appreciate your time, sir, especially when you're on vacation.
Sure. Glad to be here. Appreciate you having me, and can't wait to see you in November.
It's too long. Like I said, I need to. We've talked about this before. We need to figure out like a quarterly, like something to get me and you and Matt and
we're working on it. Yeah, we're actually working on it, and it's going to happen.
I agree.
We got big things happening, so it's going to happen.
I am anxiously awaiting. Like, I'm so excited for that plan. Caleb, thank you. As always, I do appreciate it. Guys, if you guys have questions for Caleb and if you're watching this on the replay, drop it in the comments below. We watch the comments throughout the week, and I love responding to you guys and interacting with you guys in the comment section. But until next time, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors.
I got you, Joe. I'm Caleb, the stain expert, reminding you that when it comes to exterior wood care, your project is not done until it's finished.
I love that. I love that so much.
There you go.
I love it so much.
See you on the next one, man.
I'm gonna end this real quick, but stick around. I'd like to chat with you for a minute.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.